City Council meeting Tuesday, August 4th, 6:30. Presiding will be our mayor, Bob Odekirk. Oh, sorry, wait a minute, I forgot, it's Tuesday. The invocation will be from Father Chris Roach, who will then lead us in the pledge. Okay.
Almighty God, you bestow your gifts to us in so many countless ways. We are grateful for all that you continue to do for us and for the wisdom and favors you grant. As we gather tonight in your name, come to us with your enlightenment and guidance so that all decisions may begin with your inspiration. God of wisdom and justice, guide and support our mayor and the members of our city council. Give them the strength to know your will so that all that they do may be done with a desire to please you. God of comfort and healing, hear our prayers for all who are sick, in particular those who are stricken with the COVID-19 virus. Grant them your care so that their health may be fully restored. For all who are particularly vulnerable, we pray for safety and protection. And for all who experience fear or anxiety, we pray for peace of mind and spirit. For our brothers and sisters here in Joliet, in our state, in our nation, and throughout the world, we pray for their well-being. And for all public officials and decision makers, we pray for wisdom and guidance. And during this time of fear and uncertainty, may we all be a sign of hope and comfort and love to all. For we pray to you, our Lord and God, now and forever. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin. Councilman Hug. Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon. Here. Councilman Turk.
Here.
Before we have the presentation this evening, we are going to move on to the proclamations for the Neighborhood Hero Award winners this evening.
Are they all upstairs in the room here?
They're right there.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. My name is Jane Bernhard. I am the president of Project Acclaim, and I am happy to be here again this year to introduce our first batch of Neighborhood Hero Award winners. I just love this program, and this program recognizes our residents who put work and their time into their properties. They have maintained lawns, flowers, shrubs, trees, hardscaping. They take care of their property. And by showing pride in their property, these people show pride in their neighborhood and in our city. So tonight I'm going to have Councilwoman Coleman read the proclamation, and then we're going to call up we have 6 households here tonight to accept an award or proclamation.
So the first 10, there's how many more for coming months? Or weeks?
18 the next meeting, not all of them are coming physically.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of beautiful lawns this year, and these folks worked really hard to keep their neighborhoods neat. Okay, very good. Okay, the first proclamation, and they're all the same, so I'm going to read just one proclamation, but each one will get their own with their names on it. So, whereas Project Acclaim has been honoring those who exhibit civic pride since 1985, Project Acclaim, in partnership with the City of Joliet, sponsors the Neighborhood Hero Award Program to recognize those who take pride in their property. Hero Award honorees have outstanding yards that include maintained lawns with flowers, shrubs, and decorative trees. The Neighborhood Hero Award honorees have labored intensely to create visual beauty at their property. By showing great pride in their property, these residents demonstrate great pride in their neighborhood and in our city. Now therefore I, Robert Odekirk, Mayor of the City of Joliet, Illinois, on behalf of the City of Joliet Council, do hereby recognize the efforts and outcomes of the 2020 Neighborhood Heroes and hope others will follow their examples. And the first family is the Vasquez family. They're not here? Okay. Next is the Traeger family. They are here. Dr. Traeger, very long time. Congratulations. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Oh, very good. Thank you, will do. My husband's doctor for a long time, but he retired. Well deserved. Thank you, doctor. Okay, the Piper family. There you are. Congratulations, and thank you for beautifying our city. The Walters family. The Cagle family. Now, this gentleman here I work with at Silver Cross Hospital. I did not nominate him, although I think he thought I did. We've been friends for years, but his property is immaculate, and I always tell folks, his house is so neat that even if I walk in it, I'm afraid I messed it up, so. Did you want to say anything? No. All right, Dave, thank you. The Rivera family. Oh, Jane Rivera used to be a city employee, and her home is unbelievable too. I mean, just look at the yard work, and she's got a gazebo, and that's the front yard there, and that's the backyard there, her little serenity garden. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So we'll put that aside for Jane. The Smarin family. Thank you for your hard work in beautifying our city. The Gauze family. Okay, again, beautiful. You can see Councilman Gavin up there. And I'm not sure who the other person is.
That's Dan Horst.
It is Dan. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
He's a member of Project Acclaim as well.
That's right. He's also a city employee.
And I would like to say that this woman, Mrs. Gauss, is 90 years old and did all that herself.
Oh, it's Gauss. I said Gauss.
Can
Sorry.
you repeat
That's
that
the
over?
nurse in me, Gauss.
Can you put that over the mic so people can hear that?
What she just said?
Yeah, well, she's 90 years old and she does all the work herself.
Yeah, she's 90 years old and she did all that herself.
Oh, my God. You see, you're never too old to keep your yard looking nice. The Perez family. It looks like the whole family's in that picture with company. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, the Lakota family. And a relation of Lakota. Here you are. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, Uncle.
All right. Again, big applause for all these folks. And thank you for keeping our city beautiful. And thanks to Jane also, did all this work getting everything together.
Thank you. See you next meeting.
So next on the agenda is a presentation, Riverwalk Homes update by the Fire Chief Greg Blasky.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. That's a little bit of a tough act to follow, but mine won't be as cheery. I'm here to give you an overview on the response to the fire at 366 North Broadway. Following that, Brian McDaniel, who is the Executive Director of the Illinois River Valley Chapter of the American Red Cross, will provide an overview of the relief effort, and then Peter Holston will give an update on recovery and remediation of the facility. On Tuesday, July 21st at 8:15, the Joliet Fire Department responded to a reported fire at 366 North Broadway, commonly known as Riverwalk Homes. Upon arrival, the first crew from Station 5 encountered heavy smoke on floors 3 through 5 with zero visibility. Due to the size of the structure and life safety concerns, the response was upgraded to a box alarm. In total, 15 pieces of fire apparatus were on the scene with 31 personnel. The fire was located in the garbage compactor on the lower level, but had communicated to the floors above through the garbage chute. There was a tremendous amount of heat and smoke on the 5th floor, causing multiple sprinkler heads to activate. All the residents were able to self-evacuate during the fire, except for 2 non-ambulatory residents on the 4th floor. It was safer to maintain a shelter-in-place approach with these residents, and a firefighter was placed in each room with those residents until it was safe to move them. After the fire was knocked down, each apartment was checked to assure all had made it out safely, and we did locate one resident who had slept through the entire event. There were issues that led to the extent of the damage in the building. First, each floor has access to a garbage chute through a fire-rated door that they open to drop their trash into. These doors have auto closures to assure they provide the protection of being a fire stop. The closure on the 5th floor door was broken, allowing a large volume of smoke and heat to enter the 5th floor, then bank down to the 3rd and 4th floors. Also, there was a sprinkler head at the top of the garbage chute that did not function. Due to the amount of smoke and water damage to the building, the decision was made not to allow residents to return to their apartments. The American Red Cross was contacted to assist in providing temporary housing for the displaced residents. Of the 60 apartments, most were able to find shelter with family or friends, but 27 families were in need of shelter. We currently have a memorandum of understanding with within the City of Joliet Emergency Operation Plan that the Red Cross will provide mass care sheltering. We established a check-in and holding area in the community room on Spring Street to determine how many residents would need support. After the building was cleared of smoke, residents were escorted in small groups back to the building to gather needed items for themselves and their family members, such as medicine, diapers, and clothes. A reception area for the Red Cross was set up near the community room to allow for processing. The Red Cross provided hotel rooms for the families, and the fire department provided transportation to those without a vehicle. I would like to thank our fire crews for doing an outstanding job. Also like to thank the on-site support that was provided by the Joliet Police, Holston personnel, and the American Red Cross. I'd personally like to thank Brian McDaniel, who's with us tonight, for all of his help. It helps to have established relationships with our support partners and non-government organizations that help us. I have known Brian through a week-long tabletop drill we did at the Emergency Management Institute in Maryland, and we also have worked together in the sound alarm program for smoke detectors, which we were not able to host this year, but I'm hopeful that we get it back on track for next year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian and allow him to go through the relief effort that they did for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Chief Lasky, Chief Rocher, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brian McDaniel. I'm the Executive Director for the American Red Cross of the Illinois River Valley. I want to thank you for the invitation to come and update you on our coordinated response to the multifamily fire at Riverwalk. We've worked closely with Holston Management throughout this process and do appreciate their professional staff and their quick responses. As Chief Lasky was giving you the narrative, they began to respond earlier in the evening around 8:30 to the fire. Our dispatch center received a call from Joliet Fire around 9:30, alerting us to the apartment fire that has displaced what we were told would be 60 families. By 11 p.m., 5 Red Crossers were on site at Riverwalk, working with the Joliet Fire Department and the Joliet Police in a coordinated response. We provided a number of services, including immediate aid to help with the children, such as getting water and Gatorades and snacks, the basic things to help them kind of begin to take their mind off the situation that they were working on. We were there until 6 in the morning, until every single one of the persons that was in our reception center had a hotel. And we had set them up for a minimum of 2 nights, which is normal process for the Red Cross. Over the next 2 weeks, we began to support over 124 clients from that facility, and I'm very glad to report that every single one of them is back at Riverwalk as of today. Volunteers provided breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, totaling 2,100 meals. We provided almost 5,200 snacks. But a disaster response isn't something that a single organization does. It's a team response, and so I have to make sure that I point out the support that we receive from Morning Star Mission, Catholic Charities Daybreak Center, the Salvation Army, and Meals on Wheels. They help provide about half of the food that we ended up distributing. And then I want to acknowledge Mike Payon of the Joliet Chamber for rallying the business community to help support and provide basically the remaining balance. So when the families returned home, which began last Wednesday, we distributed emergency, basically relief supplies. So we would give them a small cache of sundries that you might find in a pantry. We did 280 different boxes for the individuals, included the groceries. We provided household items, toothpaste, soap, things to help them through the recovery process. Our caseworkers handled almost 800 client contacts over that 2-week period. And we were providing those families with a range of things from emotional support, spiritual care, as well as medical support for COVID screenings and such. In fact, 48 Red Crossers who were a part of this particular operation, who were 100% trained in the COVID response, gave almost 4,000 hours of volunteer time over the last 2 weeks to support this disaster relief. So whether it's a hurricane in the Gulf South or a wildfire in the Southwest, a bombing in Lebanon, such we see today in the news, or an apartment fire here in Joliet, the American Red Cross's job is to alleviate human suffering. I am very proud of the partnership that we have with the Joliet Fire Department, the police, and the city. We are very proud of our volunteers. We're proud of this partnership, and we look forward to having continued success with the city. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
No, I do want to thank you, Brian. You were in contact with me that night and several nights moving forward, so thank you for all the work that you did and getting people out there that evening when assistance was needed, so I really appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you helping clear some of the ways of the initial hurdles that we faced, so thank you so much. Councilwoman, I hope that you got the emails that I sent to you as well to keep you updated. We also, just so everyone knows, we were in contact with the county officials who also represent that area of Joliet, so that everyone was informed on our response. So thank you very much, and Chief, I do appreciate the partnership and the friendship as always, so thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and council members. My name is Peter Holston, president of Holston Management Corporation. I have with me Victor Medina, who's been our leader on the ground for all the efforts that we do and are continuing to do to aid the residents. Behind me is Lucy Stanford, who's operations director. I first learned of the fire from our site staff, who obviously were on site and experienced it. I called Lucci. Lucci came down here right away, followed by Victor. Local staff of Riverwalk were engaged as well. Chief, thank you so much for the quick and heavy-duty response from the Joliet Fire Department. I have given each one of you a summary of the incident and recovery efforts, and I'm happy to say that every resident is back in. There are 2 apartments that were substantially damaged. The rest of them were not so and became habitable. We did replace all the refrigerators on the 5th floor. As the report says, Unit 508 and 510 have the most damage, and those residents are staying in other apartments. As the fire chief mentioned, the fire started in the compactor from some, we think perhaps a lit cigarette or something else, and rapidly spread out through the chute. We did have the chute company come out over the next couple days and not only check the chute, but check the chutes in the buildings that have them elsewhere on the campus. So that is all detailed in the report. We are most grateful that there were no significant injuries from this fire, and we stand ready to help the city and the fire department in any future efforts that will make sure something like this doesn't happen again.
I think we're good, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Chief, I do want to thank you. I was on scene that night. I saw the fire department at work. They did a great job, and also the police officers who were there. And I was real complimentary of you and Deputy Chief Carey, who were in uniform, full uniform. There's no question who was in charge. You guys were out there performing, not spectating. So great job to you and your guys. Thank you.
Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written? Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon. Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Next on the agenda are citizens to be heard on agenda items. I would ask, we do have some people that signed up that are in the main level, so once you speak, if you could exit the room, we are playing this in the lobby, so we can allow other people to come in and have their time to speak as well. First is Joanne Potenziani.
Krista, is there anybody downstairs vetting or filtering people up?
Yes, we do have an officer down there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and council members. I'm reading a statement that was prepared by Bonnie Horn, who could not be here tonight. She's a past member of the Joliet Historic Preservation Commission and a longtime Joliet resident. I believe it is in the best interest of our city and the residents of Joliet to expand the current rental inspection program to include single-family properties. By doing so, this will ensure that neighborhoods have safe housing at a desirable standard. Landlords may, in turn, have more desirable properties. The city of Joliet would gain through increased property values and be known as a community that cares about the safety of its residents and its neighborhoods. Yes, it may cost the city by increasing the number of employees needed to operate the program efficiently. However, the long-term benefits to the city as a whole, including residents and landlords, should outweigh any expense. This would be a positive step for the future of Joliet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Chemins.
Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and Joliet City Council. My name is Andrew Chemers, a resident of Joliet and the current president of the Cathedral Area Preservation Association. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I will be delivering two messages from those who could not be here. Gil Kerr had hoped to make it tonight. Gil is an investor and landlord. He owns 21 properties in Joliet, 3 of which are occupied by his own family members, and the rest are rented or will be when renovations have been completed. Councilwoman Quillman met Gil and his son Nick about 3 weeks ago at their current ongoing renovation, 160 North Rainer Avenue. Gil has a medical emergency in his family, and so he could not be here tonight. Gil is an unusual person. He has high hopes for Joliet. He authorized me to speak on his behalf and to say that he strongly favors Joliet passing the proposed ordinance to bring all single-family rentals into the city's inspection program. This, he hopes, would be the first in a series of steps for the city to take aim at changing the slumlord business model of delaying repairs and regular maintenance manifested in the failure to pass routine inspections. This, he believes, is a behavior that deteriorates not only the affected house, but also the surrounding neighborhood. It also is a major disservice to the tenant and his or her family. This is a statement by Kelly Burke, Realtor. I agree with the neighborhood's working group's conclusion regarding the importance of inspecting single-family rentals in Joliet. The only thing that I would add is that a certified inspected property should be advertised as such to attract higher quality tenants and convey a sense of security for those in the rental market. Maybe some kind of an official logo to attach to all rental ads and/or properties. This is a win-win for everyone except the property owner/landlord who does not wish to respect his own property and chooses to be a poor steward. It's a no-brainer for any responsible owner of rental property. Higher rents, good respectable tenants, rising values, and very happy neighbors. Bottom line, single-family rentals or multi-family rentals should be conveyed to all tenants in a quality manner, and practicing the covenant in real estate relating to, quote, the right to quiet enjoyment, end quote. In other words, this is their new home and they should be able to enjoy it as if it was their own. A properly inspected home will be a safer, cleaner home for all to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Cizilski. We'll go ahead and move on to the next, since there's quite a few that signed up, and we'll go back to Don.
Okay.
Dan Jawargis. I apologize if I mispronounce that.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm here to read a statement as well. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Joseph Diaz. I'm a realtor and the owner of the Taylor Street Realty, located near Rayner Avenue on Taylor Street here in Joliet. I support the change of inspection practice for single-family rentals that is being considered tonight. Our realty company deals in all facets of real estate and understands all too well the struggles that our neighbors and community can have if rentals are not monitored accordingly. All rental properties should be inspected between tenants, especially single-family homes, since they have a greater influence on the overall comparable values of our single-family homes in the area. If rental properties are run down or in poor condition, not only are they an eyesore to the community, but they also drive down everybody's property value. Landlords have a responsibility to their neighbors to do all they can to help increase value, not the other way around. The idea that a single-family rentals be inspected when vacant makes a lot of sense to me. I think it is important for the city to have first-hand knowledge of every rental property, and getting into rental single-family homes after a tenant leaves before the next one arrives seems perfect. I also think that there should be a penalty in place for those that don't cooperate and incentives for those who do. I hope and strongly recommend that you pass this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don Cizilski.
I'm here to speak for Jay Ringo, who's not able to be here tonight. I have lived in the 700 block of Marion Street in the St. Pat's neighborhood for over 30 years. I'm here representing the St. Pat's Neighborhood Association, of which I'm a board member. St. Pat's has worked with most of the neighborhood organizations on the near west, south, and east sides over the past dozen or more years to help the city of Joliet find a way to improve its oversight over rental housing. We have brought proposals for doing so to this council probably 4 more times during this period. The only response we've ever received is it costs too much, we do not have the staff, we just can't do it. Although there are many good rental units in Joliet, we have too many blighted, poor housing in this city. I am personally and directly affected by it. Well over 50% of St. Pat's housing is rental, and much of that is seriously substandard. Very close to where I live is a rental house owned by an absentee, out-of-town landlord. He bought the place at foreclosure sale for $35,000. He has rented the property for $1,800 a month for the past 5 years, thus tripled his investment. The tenants, very nice people, are simply afraid to ask for the necessary repairs for fear of retribution. Another nearby house is owned by one of the larger landlord outfits in this city. The neighbors have had to call the city multiple times over the summer just to get the grass mowed. Stories like mine are heard everywhere in St. Pat's. What my neighbors and I experience here in St. Pat's is repeated over and over in other neighborhoods in this city. Other cities in northern Illinois have economies and demographics very similar to ours, yet they have been able to put in a more effective, comprehensive program to deal with slums, including and especially single-family rentals. In Joliet, single-family rentals are the great opportunity for the get-rich landlords more interested in collecting their rent than keeping their properties up. On behalf of St. Pat's, I strongly appeal to you to pass this ordinance. Thank you. Jay Ringo.
Thank you.
Kate Cherry.
Hello, my name is Kate Cherry, and I'm going to be reading a letter from Kathy Spieler. She was unable to attend today. She is a Joliet resident of the Rewood neighborhood. Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and Joliet City Council members. We need to get this single-family rental inspection to go through tonight. This rental inspection program has been needed for more than 40 years, even going back to when my mother was president of the St. Pat's Neighborhood Association 40 years ago. There were slum landlords who didn't take care of their single-family rental property homes. None were inspected, and many were of blight to the community as a whole. In my neighborhood, there is a company who has been buying up homes when they are sold and rent them out. Without inspections, we end up with neighbors like I have close to me, overcrowding in 2-bedroom homes, 9 people living there, and sometimes more when they have house guests who have stayed for months on end. Lawns full of cans, bottles, empty Cheeto bags, which all blow into my and other neighborhood yards. It's not right to allow this. I have called neighborhood services more than I want to count. Having inspections would be a start to having accountability to both landlords and tenants. A landlord who is a realtor spoke last night at the pre-council about how it will chase people away. No, it will encourage people to come into our city to rent as they know they will live in better conditions. Landlords will get a greater quality renter in which this to be done. In fact, what he said was a blatant disregard for renters in general. He said, if this happens, not only do we have to pay for hundreds of dollars, but more than that, we will have to follow regulations and codes. Wow, just wow. Sorry, but regulations and codes should be followed no matter if you are being inspected or not. A once-a-year inspection is not an invasion of privacy. It is a help for the renter and the whole neighborhood. Again, this should have been implemented 40 years ago in the city of Joliet. I will be very disappointed in anyone who would vote no to this proposal. Please do not tell me you are here for the poor and disadvantaged and vote no, because when you do, you hurt the low-income renter. Let me elaborate. My friend, who was a widow and left with young children to raise on her own, rented a house on the west side of Joliet some years back. The place was falling apart, the bathtub had tiles missing, and a 2-foot by 2-foot space, you could see the pipes inside the wall for nearly a year, and the landlord did nothing to fix it. She had no recourse. Why? Because no one inspects these rental homes, and the tenants are afraid to speak up for fear of being evicted. She had no money to rent a truck and hire movers, or savings to put up first and last month rent for a new rental property, so she had to remain in unacceptable living conditions. May I also ask to put out here for discussion as anyone who would feel it would be okay to inspect a 2-flat or a duplex, but yet not be inspecting a single-family rental home. There is nearly no difference. There are duplexes that are 900 square feet, the same as many small rental homes. What is the difference? For anyone to approve a duplex, the size of a rental home to be mandatorily inspected, but there would not be for single-family landlords to get away with endlessly with no inspections is discrimination against those who have buildings with 2 units. The Housing Authority rental home properties are inspected biannually. The City of Joliet could start in the same premise with a biannual inspection until the program gets under its feet. Let's change this tonight and vote yes to get all rental homes inspected. Thank you for your time and consideration. Kathy Spieler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Persichetti.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing me a little bit of time to speak to you tonight on this proposed ordinance. I am here in person to read my own letter and to tell you that I stand in opposition to this strongly. My name is Matt Persichetti. I was born and raised in Joliet. My father was a Joliet policeman. My mother worked for the Joliet Diocese. I played baseball at St. Joe's Baseball. One who I believe will speak tonight is Quinn Adamowski. I played St. Joe's with his older brother, Eon, God rest his soul. A great ball player. In fact, Officer Lakota played with him as well. I played softball back when I was younger and thinner, and there were two great umpires. There was Teddy and there was Duck. Just a few weeks ago, I shared a stage with Councilwoman Quillman at Billy Leemacher Bicentennial Park. What I'm getting at is I care very, very deeply about this city. When I was installed as the president of the Three Rivers Association of Realtors in 2016, I held my dinner, installation dinner, at the Joliet Area Historical Museum because I wanted all of the realtors, I wanted all that were in attendance to know the history of this great town and to take pride in this great town. I pay taxes here, I work here, and I play here every day. Some of these people are correct. We've been debating this single-family rental inspection for a number of years. The reason we are still debating this is because people are not listening to the solid reasoning of the Realtor Association and of the Joliet staff. We've been accused of speaking in platitudes and general terms, when that is precisely what the opposition is doing. They have provided zero proof that if you pass this ordinance, that it will actually be effective and solve anything. So I've got some proof that we have been supplying you for years. Number one, the city does not have adequate staff to handle single-family residential inspection. It's a fact. You know that. There was a study that showed that if you do this, it's going to cost at least $500,000 a year to do this for staff. That's not even counting vehicles that you'll have to buy for those staff to drive around to these properties. You don't have that money. As council people, as mayor, you have to be fiscally responsible to your taxpayers. And a vote for this tonight would be irresponsible. Number two, your own staff does not deem this as necessary. In fact, they've advised that owner-occupant properties are in violation in far greater numbers than rental properties are. Number three, it's not needed because you already have adequate resources or adequate recourse in your current ordinance to penalize bad actors. Number four, this places an additional burden on the good actors and their tenants, causing good actors to sell and bad actors to buy it up. It's counterproductive. If you vote for this, it's counterproductive to what you want to accomplish. That's the unintended consequence that you have to be cognizant of. Number five is important. Private property rights are still constitutionally protected. Owners and tenants should not be subjected to invasive inspections without cause. The city likely will incur costly legal battles to fight this if you pass it. If people feel that it's necessary to clean up Joliet, are all the residents well, they weren't here to speak, people spoke for them, are they willing to subject their own properties to the same inspections and fees? How can we be sure those houses are safe to occupy? Does owning and living in a property magically make it more safe than a rental? Is that my time?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Lindsay Hasdra.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, Councilwomen. Thank you for allowing me the podium for a minute this evening. My name is Lindsay Hasdra. My husband and I have been personally living, investing, working, and spending our hard-earned money in Joliet for 10 years now. I'm a local realtor with a laser focus on my community, and most of our renovation projects, past, current, and prospective, have been in this city. The topic becomes even more personal as I'm a neighbor to a home owned by a 5-member LLC based in Florida, all whose members are foreign to the United States. I live the life of a homeowner exasperated with the challenges on her doorstep. I am raising 3 young boys in this community, and all of them have run for shelter in their own front yard during shootings on Reed Street. This tenant group keeps livestock and family members in their garage. Today may not be the ideal time to go over the long history of this property, as Joliet police are incredibly aware. But this type of landlord, to me, is what this meeting is about. And this type of proposal empowers this type of landlord. Bad tenants are never going away. This will always be a reoccurring issue. It seems as though the problem lies with the owners of specific dwellings. It also seems as though investors like this will be the only type who will be able to stay in our market long term. As with any blanket solution, only some of the issues will be solved, while creating many new ones. This story is an example of a bad tenant, a tenant that the property owner is too far removed from play to play an active role in controlling. It also highlights the obvious issue with getting into contact with owners like this. How will an inspection remove this tenant or make them a law-abiding citizen? We need to move faster to put out the problem properties in the inspection program. If individuals call someone on the city council, police, or others with complaints, they should be investigated. Landlords like this are tough to hold accountable, and with the new proposed plans in place, there will be little room for small business and local landlords to keep their stake in our community. They will struggle to provide quality, affordable housing. We can expect to see more homes owned by aloof, distant companies, much like my neighbor on Reed Street. My husband Chris and I renovate homes in the Cathedral area. This is an area near and dear to our hearts. It does not get more personal. We are always planning our next project to renovate, beautify, and improve Joliet. However, as of late, I must admit the plan for our own Joliet Exodus has been the topic of conversation. A conversation quite different from our initial business plan. It's challenging to be the type of spokesperson for our community who educates and elevates our city when I harbor my own feelings of doubt and uncertainty. Joliet does not have an overall landlord issue. It has an issue with specific landlords. Landlords we are aware of, and we can easily pinpoint. We cannot use a blanket fix for this issue. It is at the cost of community-focused and personally invested small business owners. The people of our city, investing in our city, will not be able to keep up with their mindful and purposeful business plans directly related to our people and our community. Joliet citizens like myself with long-term beautification goals will find other places to invest. A town hall, group meeting, or coalition with local landlords and leaders to explore other options and ideas to help solve these issues is vital. This is not a one-size-fits-all plan. This is an issue of specific homeowners who are identifiable with the help of the people in this room tonight. I'll finish by stating that I'm not moving. I'm not changing my plan. I'll be here, along with the other hardworking citizens in our city, to be a part of the change and specialized plans that will cause Joliet to grow and prosper. I am not for this proposal.
Thank you.
Edward Rudiger.
Edward Rudiger. I am a resident of Joliet, and I am the president-elect and acting president of the Three Rivers Association of Realtors. I am also not a landlord in the city of Joliet, but I do stand against this proposal, and so does our association. First off, we are all here on both sides of this issue because we all want the same thing. We just disagree on how to get there. Now, we've been hearing during COVID, listen to the experts, listen to the experts. Well, from what I've been told when it comes to real estate, I'm an expert. I don't know anything about COVID. But I will say, we have, in the last 12 months, 1,294 closings in the city of Joliet. Your staff has estimated about 5,100 single-family rentals. If 10% of them decide, just 10%, sell out of this market, that will put 500 units immediately onto the market. This is one of our concerns. This will cause pricing to drop. We also understand there are bad landlords. We don't want the slum landlords. But the majority of our landlords are amazing. We have a program already to target and go after these bad landlords. But instead of putting the bad landlords into the program, which we all seem to know who they are, we're just going to throw everybody into the program. The concern has been raised by the staff of Joliet that they cannot handle this increase of inspections, and we cannot afford this increase of inspections. So what happens? This is the main concern for the landlords, the good ones that are here tonight. The main concern is the fact there will be delays. It's not about the $100 fee, which I'll touch back on in a second. It's about the fact of not being able to rent a property out for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months while they're waiting for an inspection, which has happened to some of our landlords with the multi-unit inspection process. And the $100 fee, yeah, I get it. If it's 5 years, it's a dollar. They can handle that. It's the loss of revenue. It's the increase of the fact that we don't know what the fee actually is going to be because staff has said it's not viable at $100. Now you guys can pass this tonight and we can see what happens. I urge you to listen to the experts and those that are come up and talk to me or talk after I. Now both sides want the same thing. And we have a program already in place to go after those bad landlords. So my question is, if we're putting everybody in the program, why do we need to do that if we can put the bad ones in it already and not have to? It should have fixed the problem. It's not fixing the problem. You can put this on hold and let's open up for other ideas and other options. One of which is, let's look at capital investment and increasing the competition for rental properties. Because that's going to chase off these hedge fund managers. They're the ones not following the rules and the regulations. The good landlords here and us realtors are supporting. We want the code. We want buildings in great condition, and we want a good city of Joliet. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ron Romero.
Mayor, council members, my name is Ron Romero and I'm the president and founder of the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 and a resident of the city of Joliet in District 3. Tonight on your agenda is an ordinance for your approval to recognize 9 West Cass as a local landmark. You may already be aware of the building's history since the 1930s, originally the White Store, later the Goldblatt Brothers, and finally By-Right Furniture. The building has over 20,000 square feet on 3 floors and a lower level. In September of last year, the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum purchased the property, and our organization has been working to bring it back to life in order to house the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum. Our efforts to bring the museum to fruition will not only be a place for the house, to house, honor, and preserve history from music from the state of Illinois, it will also benefit the city as an economic engine in the way of tourism, sales tax base, and by helping to bring downtown property values up by making improvements to the building. The museum now has 23,000 followers from around the world on social media and 500 charter members from about 25 states around the country. The charter members have signed on to help support our mission and support us financially. We recently announced that Mike Arturi will be joining the museum as Director of Music Education Programming. Mike is the founder of the Universal Music Center located in Minnesota, which has been in existence for over 10 years with much success. Mr. Arturi, coincidentally, is also the touring drummer with a band called Love and Spoonful. They had hits with songs called Summer in the City, Do You Believe in Magic? And they had a big hit with a theme to Welcome Back, Kotter. Mike brings a proven working business plan to the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum and has already begun negotiations with a large school district to bring our music education program to students in the area. Some time ago, several of the council members and the mayor joined us at the building for a tour and to hear a little bit about our plans for the museum. On that day, several musicians from Illinois bands joined us, including Jim Peter, who entertained us with an acoustic version of the Ides of March hit, Vehicle. Jim was the first person to perform at 9 West Cass. Jim also sits on our advisory board along with Chicago media legend, former WLS DJ and now WGN DJ Bob Surratt. Both help to support the museum's missions with ideas and by helping to spread the word. Bob Surratt recently worked along with our media committee to capture and edit the last known interview with legendary WLS DJ Clark Weber, who often referred to himself on the radio as Mother Weber's oldest son. I'm proud to announce that Bob and our media team won a Tally Award for the production of this interview with Mr. Weber before his passing. Currently, there are 17 board members, there are 10 historians, several business owners, and other volunteers lending their expertise and talents to create the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum. We are immensely proud of our accomplishments over the past few years and are diligently working to make the city of Joliet proud of our work to bring this historic museum to downtown Joliet. I hope you will all consider a yes vote to pass the ordinance to make 9 West Cass Street a historic landmark in Joliet and Will County, and help us to create a world-class museum that offers a new and unique edutainment experience for visitors from around the world. Your yes vote will help to entice others to help support our mission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Damon Zunich.
Hello, I'm Damon Stunich, 430 North Center Street. I'm here to talk about the single-family rental inspections program. I'm a lifelong resident. I've seen our neighborhoods decline over the past 30, 40 years as we've seen more and more homeowner-occupied housing turn into rental housing that hasn't been kept up. I understand why the landlords don't want it. It'll cost them a little more, $100. Boy, that's a lot of money to spend. But, you know, I just don't understand why they're so against this. I could go into a lot of reasons. I'm not going to waste your time, as some of the other people voting for this new inspection program have so eloquently made their statements before me. You know, we could talk about how many rental properties look as good as the neighborhood heroes. I'd like to see them. Those neighborhood heroes, I'm sure they're all homeowners. Adding single-family rentals to the inspection program will help Joliet. It will help turn the tide. It will help improve property values in general. It could save lives. We've seen the fires at Evergreen Terrace. There was another fire on Hickory Street that was horrific just the other day. Burned down 2 houses. One was a really historical house in Joliet. This program will improve schools gradually. It will stabilize neighborhoods. It will improve Joliet's tax base. We say we can't afford it. Joliet's tax base will improve as people see Joliet a more desirable community to live in. These are all good things for Joliet. A yes vote is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gilbert Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, for allowing me to speak. My name is Gilbert Kirby. I am a resident in the Cathedral area, as well as the current Secretary-Treasurer of the Three Rivers Association of Realtors. I'm here today to speak about the single-family housing ordinance, and I ask that you oppose this current bill. One of the things that I have noticed both today as well as listening to the meeting from yesterday was a lot of people talked about the desire for high-quality renters. And quite frankly, I'm not entirely sure what that term means. Because throughout history, there have been people that have not been allowed to live in neighborhoods because they were deemed not quality. We have members of our community, as well as 2 council members sitting here, who once upon a time would not have been allowed to live in neighborhoods because of redlining, because they were not quality. I, as a gay man, am denied housing in more states that I'm protected because I am not deemed to be high quality. When we talk about these tenants that are not high quality, and we talk about slumlords, we're talking about people who are not choosing to live in these places because they like the aesthetic appeal of it. They're choosing to live there because they cannot afford anything else. There's no rental units available in this area. The competition is dire. When I first moved to this community 10 years ago, my first rental unit cost me $750 for a one-bedroom, 400 square foot apartment. Making twice the minimum wage, I had trouble affording that. That same unit now goes for over $1,000 and there's a wait list for it. That would take somebody that makes a minimum wage to work 88 hours a week in order to afford that unit. And if COVID has taught us anything, that the people that make a minimum wage are our essential workers. They are the people that put their lives on the line so we could have groceries, so we can get gas, so that way our packages could get delivered. And they were willing, and we were willing to have them risk their health and safety, but we're not willing to allow them or to create affordable housing for them to live in our community. That is a mistake. This council needs to look at increasing the amount of units available. When was the last time a project was approved for a larger, even medium scale apartment complex to improve the competition? That would not only reduce the amount of slumlords that are out there, because people actually have more places to go. They don't have to worry about if they get evicted. They have somewhere that they can afford as well. They also will allow the overall quality, because now the slumlords have to compete with all these other competitive places. I also think if the council is willing to spend possibly millions of dollars on this project, why doesn't that money go towards the Joliet Down Payment Assistance Program? Help more people actually become homeowners and not need to rent from a slumlord. That program has already helped over hundreds of people that would not have otherwise been able to be a homeowner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ariana Schuler. Ariana Schuler. We'll move on to Larry Lindholm, and we'll go back to Ariana.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you. I'm the Vice President of the Reedwood Neighborhood Association, and I'm here to ask you to pass that resolution. We as homeowners make the neighborhoods make homeowners. You awarded homeowners tonight for keeping up their property. Let's have everybody keep their property up. Neighborhoods depend on their residents, and residents depend on their neighborhoods. Absentee owners care about their income. Property values are driven by the neighborhood. You improve the single-family homes that are rented, you raise the property level. Landlords, as was stated in other times, if this goes into effect, will not sell off. Landlords are in for the long haul. They will see their property values raised, they will stick it out, they will have the tenants, and the city of Joliet will be better. People have said, well, we can't afford it. We can afford it. It needs to be done. If you ask for the inspection, you can reward people. Let's say it's $100 for the first year. After 2 years of good inspections, you could lower it to $75. After 5 years, maybe to $50. Anytime in there they fail, it goes back up to the original. Reward the owner for compliance. Now, I've heard of both sides, and both sides sound good. We've talked too long. This council needs to act and save the neighborhoods. And to pass that, we need to inspect single-family homes. You live in single-family homes, I do. I've lived here in this town since 1950, just a short time ago. I love this town. And I want to thank you for your service to this town, but remember, you work for this town, and the people of this town deserve the best in housing for whoever they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren Grigas.
you for the opportunity to address my concerns with the new single-family inspection proposal. My name is Lauren Grigas. I am a local realtor and Joliet landlord myself. My husband and I provide high quality housing for affordable prices. We accomplish this by keeping turnover times between tenants to an absolute minimum. With the new inspection proposal, this will increase our turnover times from a few days into possibly a few months. We have projected projected an approximate 15 to 20% increase in rent to recoup lost revenue, and I'm certain other landlords will follow suit, which is exactly what we do not want to do. We understand the lack of inventory, high rent with poor quality is what will come out of this. I would like to address a specific point that was brought up by the City Council at yesterday's meeting. The Council was concerned about the elderly and persons living alone, stating they are afraid to report bad tenants. Where is the data to support this claim? And if the city has the data, why are the complaints not being transpired to the landlords or police to address such issues? It seems as if the council's concern is more aligned with bad tenants and not landlords' neglect. How is this information being retrieved to landlords, and how is this inspection program going to fix bad tenants? As you see here today, you're looking at local faces from our community that care about Joliet and will be personally affected by these new changes you want to implement. This is how we put food on our tables. It is how we pay for our children's sports and how we have money to put back into our community. I think we can all agree we do want to see Joliet flourish. We want rent prices to stay low. We don't want big hedge fund investors. We do want to support small businesses, and we want the best for our city's residences. This is why I feel the single-family inspection program is not the way to accomplish all the above. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Nachtrieb.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thanks for hearing all of us. It's been said several times tonight that we're all looking for the same thing, and I think that's true. We're all looking for housing to be improved, to be safe and comfortable for the residents wherever they are on the income spectrum, whatever their condition in life is. I think there's some misunderstanding about what this proposed ordinance does immediately and what can be done later. All it does is set the principle that single-family rentals need to be inspected on occasion or whenever it's necessary. Right now, they only get it if they have 2 police calls or 2 calls for service. What the neighborhood groups that have been working on this would like to see is a program where homes get inspected at reasonable intervals. Those that pass are rewarded by either a reduced fee or a fee of 0, and those that don't pass because they haven't maintained their properties or made the repairs that are necessary pay more. And if you do that, you can solve 2 problems. One, you can possibly generate the money that the city says it doesn't have for more inspectors and more equipment for inspections. It doesn't have to come out of general revenue, it can come out of fees and fines. And also, it changes the business model for slummers, because they'll soon find that it's cheaper to fix the property, make the repairs, clean it up, get it rented again, than it is to pay for the 4th or 5th or 6th reinspection fee. So we would like to see the principle set that single-family rentals are not exempt. Then we would like, as Councilman Terry Morris said at the land use meeting, let's get a working group that gets everybody involved, city staff, landlords, realtors, renters, community leaders, and figure out a way to get it done. I think we can do it, we're all reasonable, and I think it would actually be successful. We've been trying this for a long time. Joliet's still near the bottom of where the major cities in the Chicago metropolitan area are in terms of housing quality. So it's time we pulled up our socks and got it done right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ralph Bias.
Good evening, council and mayor. My name is Ralph Bias. I live in Joliet. I've heard a lot of opinions tonight. I've been a landlord in Joliet for 40 years. And some of the things I've heard tonight, I don't quite understand. I own property in the cathedral area in the Fort West Side. And most of my property is on the east side where most people won't even go. I like to think of it as the people that rent for me, I like to make it almost impossible for them to leave. You give them a decent place to stay. And really, I don't need someone to come and tell me how it looks before I let them move in. Because if it's not well enough for me to move in, I'm not gonna ask them to move in. Then the people that rent for me, I've got a waiting list for people to rent for me. I have people that rented for me for over 15, 16 years. I put my properties up for sale about 3 years ago. I had tenants out in front of my house crying because the fact they said they wasn't gonna find another landlord like that. Now, I know I overdo it, yes. I know I overdo it. I give them hardwood floors, ceramic, porcelain, washer, dryer, central air. I do. If that's the place where I belong to live. Now, some of the landlords, I cut their grass, I push their snow. I make it impossible for them to leave. If it's a good tenant, I make it impossible for them to leave. Really. Now and some of the people that I rent to, some of these people wouldn't rent to because they don't want them in the neighborhood. I've been a landlord for 40 years and I know what it's about. I don't need neighborhood services to tell me what a place should look like before I rent it. I don't quite understand is, if I got a tenant that I don't like, I throw them out. Then I gotta ask neighborhood services to tell me what it looks like to the next person in? What am I missing? I don't understand this. I don't have a problem with the city or neighborhood services going to a bad landlord that does something that's right. And I know a lot of them. Go after them. Do whatever you have to do. But don't gather up all the landlords. One guy speeding down the road and you're gonna shoot everybody that drives on the same road? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It does not. And the councilman, if you're a landlord and you live in the city, you have people. Now, some of the problems I had haven't been landlords. There's been people who live in the house who are homeowners, who figure they can get away with a lot of junk. All right? Let's take that into consideration. I mean it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Daniel Martinez.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm a landlord in Joliet. I was born and raised in Joliet. The way I look at it, I'm a new investor in the area. Just got in last year in October. The reason because I love this city. I grew up in it, and I see certain areas that, yeah, they make sense that they need to get renovated and stuff like that. And I take pride in the properties that I've bought so far, and that I put money into to make it better. I don't feel like the problem is necessarily that. I think the problem is it's a money issue. The city doesn't have enough people to support getting all the inspections done, and in turn, it's only going to raise tax prices on the whole city of Joliet to support a program like this. You know what I mean? So if the city council's best interest is in the whole city, I think it's counterproductive to the city of Joliet residents that, you know, that would have, somebody's got to pay for this program to actually go through and actually make a change. And I feel like for the slumlords, you know, they should be held accountable. I absolutely feel they should, and I think there's already a process in place for people to call in and actually get, you know, try to get those landlords to feel accountable for them. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erica Holmes.
Good day, council. So we heard a lot of people talk tonight, right? I noticed that a lot of the people that was for the inspection are not on the southeast side or the east side of town, what is, you guys always ask us, what is the end game? The west side of Joliet, let's be honest, do not want to be a renter's community. The people that want this passed honestly do not understand that everyone's not going to be a homeowner. The city do not understand the burden of the landlord, and we're being penalized to want to help others. You go up on our fees, we have to go up on our rent. The rent that tenants are already struggling with due to this pandemic. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? As landlords, we hope to break even. However, honestly, many will end in the red. Your ordinance, by the way, is too vague, and due to the language, you can honestly hurt us later. I'm sorry that the city of Joliet is not good stewards of money. As soon as the pandemic hit, the city screen broke. So now the city wants to hurt the small business owners by making more fees. You already have a program of the bad landlords. Everybody knows who the bad landlords are. So go after them. I take pride in knowing that what my grandfather built over 50 years ago, what my grandmother is still taking care of. She's a senior citizen, she's 87 years old, that owns property, and she probably has the cheapest rent, bless her heart, to rent out to people that is ungrateful. So we get penalized for ungrateful people. We do our very best, give them the top, level of what we would want to live in ourselves, and yet sometimes we get what most landlords can honestly say they have had a time or two is bad tenants. So, the single-family home inspection program was projected to cost at least $5 million over the next 10 years. Overwhelm the existing rental inspection program implemented by the city. If passed, the single-family home renter inspection program would add 5,000 new properties into an already struggling system. You guys don't have a plan for the system you already have, and you want to implement a new plan and have not the people to handle that new plan. So how does that look for the taxpayers? How does that look for the landlords? And how do we explain to our tenants we have to go up on their rent? And by the way, let's talk about economic development that we lack on the east side, the southeast side of Joliet, and that the people that, the average median of people that live in our properties cannot even make ends meet. They're a check away from being homeless. Oh, by the way, I definitely go to the shelters and help out at the shelters and see them same people that work for me that they can barely pay to even get into any rental properties. So, I'm sorry that the Cathedral area, I'm sorry that the West Side is experiencing things that we have already experienced most of our lives, crime. So we have crime now everywhere. So now we need to work together, not raise our monies, to break us, because we're small business owners, because we're still in a pandemic, and figure out a better plan, because your plan right now is not working for all of us. So, thank you for your time.
Mark Wallace.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Mark Wallace. I'm a global sourcing leader and a real estate investor since 1999, so for 20 years. I believe in standard operating procedures. I believe in implementing those with my homes and also my residents. I'm very good at what I do. I've made Fortune 100 companies millions of dollars over the course of my term in corporate, and I've been successful in making my business just as strong. My goal and my objective is to keep my residents in my properties for in between 8 to 15 years, and I'm successful at it. What I want to talk with you about tonight is we need to work together. The word is collaboration. Work together to find a solution to the issues that we know that we all have. Because if we don't work together, if we are not the United States of America, we are the divided states of America. We have to work together to find solutions to our problems. And we know where our problems are. And we want to work collaboratively with you to find, root out, and get rid of our issues. It was said by the council last night that we have elderly widows who are looking for ways of getting back into their backyards, and they're afraid of going into their backyards and also retaliation. Well, that we know that the widows are not afraid of the leaky pipes or the broken windows. However, they may be afraid of their neighbors or their tenants next door, or those high quality people that we're talking about that we still don't know the definition of. The tenant screening process is not part of the neighborhood services program. It is a policy that the landlords work with to get the best residents in there, to keep our residents in there as long as we possibly can, because turnover kills us. We are not trying to turn over properties. This is a policing issue that I work collaboratively with some of the officers that are even here tonight, who I've worked with collaboratively, and some who have already retired over the course of years. The $100 fee that we've talked about over the course of 6 years, that is a number that has been floating around, but the rest in peace, the resident improvement program, or whatever the case is, however, has not been calculated, and it's an overwhelming number that has not been estimated and has not been budgeted for. Now, we all know we have to have a budget to understand where we're going and how we're going to get there and how we're going to make these things work. It is the lack of business acumen to vote for anything unless you're prepared and done due diligence and have completed and had discussions. These are the parts that are critical to us making the right decision in a collaborative effort to get the right solutions together. I ask you, please, save us some money. Save the families that we are serving some money. We are in the midst of a pandemic. Wow, we've never been here before. And I ask you to please vote no, but with the idea to think about what can we do to solve our problems together collaboratively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Bowe. Michael Bowe or Bew? Bew.
I was here last night, and I didn't speak because I wanted to get the pulse of what's actually going on in the city, and I thought about it all night long. The pros, the cons, and I thought about what I could say up here. And then I came down and I heard other people speaking. And I heard the cathedral area, St. Pat's, all that. And just to be out front with it, this has to be thought out. It's not something you just vote on and decide, okay, this is what we want because they want it. It needs to be thought out. The problem with the real problem is that nobody thought out other things that has an effect on what we're going through now. When you tore down the projects on the hill, everybody needs some place to live. Where were these people going to go? What you did was you took your violence on the hill and you spread it all over Joliet. You got people from St. Pat's, the cathedral area, they're hearing gunshots now. I got a ringtone. Every time you hear a gunshot, somebody posted. You're hearing gunshots in places where they never heard firecrackers. And these people are in fear because the people that are renting to him now are living next door. And everybody's saying, well, you know, is there slum lords? He's not a slum landlord. He's a businessman. He's renting to somebody who is able to pay to stay there. Now, are they the best tenants? And I'm not saying it's just the Hill, because east side of Joliet, south side of Joliet, even some parts of the west side of Joliet, you got violence all over the place. But now these people live closer to each other, and they live in areas where they normally don't see each other, but they see each other all the time now, and they take care of business when they see each other. And mark my words, they got shootings in Chicago where 9-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 1-year-olds are getting killed. It's just a matter of time before it happens here. And it's not because you got a landlord who's a slum lord, whatever. It's because we took people out of an area where they didn't see other people all the time, and they didn't have to fight and argue with people all the time, and now they see each other every day, and they're shooting up the whole town. To call somebody a slum lord or whatever, you have to go in and you have to be able to work with your tenant. Maybe your tenant is not the best person to work with. How long does it take you to get rid of him? And while you're getting rid of him, he knows that he's leaving. You think he cares about that property? He's gonna leave you with a nice sized water bill, which like 10 years ago, the city had a program where if a tenant left a water bill on the landlord, their thing was, you cannot get water back in your name until you clear that bill. And the city would refund that money to the landlord. It happened to me twice in that period. A couple of years later, I went down and asked them about it. You know what they told me? Oh, we don't do that anymore. That's between y'all. They abandoned me. That was their own program. You know, I ate in three $300 water bills and an $800 water bill. When the onus is not on this tenant, he ain't worried about it. One thing else to think about this is that we have a hole that you're trying to fill. When you go out and you have to hire new employees to fill this hole, you got to get this dirt from somewhere. So you're going to create another hole. What is the entry level for a inspector? 35, 40,000? Is that entry level? But when you add in his benefits, his sick time, his vacation time, his holiday pay, his pension, his life insurance, his health insurance, that goes up to like $60,000 or $70,000 per person, entry level. In 10 years, all the inspectors that were on there now will probably be retired. You'll be paying retirement to them. You're gonna have to replace them at a higher level, entry level, than what you're replacing, or what you're bringing people in today. You're gonna create another hole, and you're gonna have some other program that you're gonna have to come up with to fill that hole. My question to the council is, will you still be sitting in these seats when you have to fill this new hole? Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron McCadis.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting me speak tonight. My name is Aaron McCodis. I am an architect, a resident of Joliet, and a real estate investor with 13 units in the city. I wanted to speak tonight to make it clear that I am opposed to the ordinance as it is written today. But I wanted to clarify that as landlords, we are not opposed to oversight in general. But the blanket approach to inspecting all single-family houses will fall woefully short of its goals. If blighted properties, out-of-towners, and slumlords are the problems, then let's target those properties and companies specifically with harsh penalties. Those in favor of the ordinance make it sound like blight is something that's hidden behind a clean facade, and we need inspections in order to find the problems. That's far from the truth. One of the stories tonight in favor of the ordinance mentioned tall grass that took forever to get cut and multiple calls to the city. That's not a problem that'll go away with an inspection between turnover. That's a story. That story speaks to the city being overwhelmed and understaffed. Another story tonight involves a drive-by shooting, and that's a terrible thing and not anything I want in my city, but that has nothing to do with the slumlord not being inspected. Problem properties are already well known by the neighbors and by the city. Instead of tonight's proposal, let's work on a common sense ordinance that puts the bad actors in the current rental program and let the good people investing in our city keep doing their work unimpeded. I urge you to vote no on a half-baked ordinance that is designed to be passed now and refined later. Let's put aside the blanket fixes and let's work on specific solutions to specific problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tanya Rand.
Which microphone? Or can you hear me?
Both, yeah.
Okay. My name is Tanya Rand, and I am a lifelong resident of Joliet. I've tried to leave, and I've come right back because Joliet pulls you in like that. I am very involved in my community. I am very involved in my neighborhood. I am the president, or the vice president now, of our homeowners association of 227 houses, of which there are more and more rentals. But the rentals are treated the same way that all of the houses are treated. And if a renter is not taking care of their property, either they're spoken to or the Go Request Act, the city is contacted. And we don't seem to have a problem with the city coming out. In fact, sometimes they come out so fast, I don't know where they came from. I am also a realtor, and I invested in the Joliet area. With that said, I have spoken to a number of you over the course of the past several years, and we keep coming back to this expanding the the inspection program in Joliet. The landlords, many of them, have done okay with you revising the inspection program that you have for multi-unit properties. But when we come to this one, number one, it's very vague. Is that better or worse?
You're fine.
Okay, I'm hearing feedback. It's very vague. And that's a cause for danger. Because it depends on who's sitting behind those seats and how honorable they are as to what actually is going to happen going forward. So if you're going to create an inspection program, be precise and plan and know where that money is coming from. Because right now, everyone has mentioned some of the costs, and I know some of you have looked into that in more detail. But truly, it's going to fall back on the citizens of Joliet. Renters or non-renters. It's going to fall back in property taxes because where does the city get their money? Okay? But really, what's the root cause? Or what's the problem? Many of you said that it's ugly and unsafe properties. But is it? Because oftentimes that's a little bit of grass and a little dress up on the outside unless it's gutters falling down. So you can't see what's going on with the electricity. You can't see the homeowner or tenant who's pulled down the smoke detectors, who's taken out the batteries, who has broken faucets, put holes in walls and indoors, and is living in that fire unsafe environment because now the fire can race through the walls. That's in homeowners' houses as well as tenants' houses, and you don't see that.
That's right.
But the reality is here, we've heard very often that it's about the tenants, the people, and their bad behavior. If your problem is ugly houses or unsafe properties, you've got an inspection program. If your problem is people, then why are you trying to force additional inspection on some people of this community, AKA landlords? It's not the landlords. Those are the ones who are in your program already. It's the tenants. So, what will an inspection between tenants do? You've heard it. We all know. We pretty something up for someone to come in, right? So either you're meeting code or you're not meeting code. That doesn't mean it stays that way, and I've already touched on that quite a bit. Those delays cost the small businesses a lot of money. I am very against this, and I think that respect starts at home, mental illness aside, and so we can't select a tenant based on what they look like or the knives that they're carrying. We have to select them on their financial situation and their job.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ruby Velasquez.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for taking your time to meet every one of us tonight. To clarify, I am in opposition of the single family home inspection. For all of the reasons that everyone has come up already, I'm not going to repeat what everyone has said, but I do want to say that I agree for all of those reasons. On top of, we already have plans in place. I think that there's money, but we're not looking at it for whatever reason. We're deciding to look the other way. We already know who the bad landlords are. Why are we not going after them if we know there's fines there? As an investor in this town and surrounding towns, I could tell you that you cannot always see a tenant's viciousness. You see it later on. You see it when, they meet a crossroad that they just cannot meet. And they take it out on your landlord. And at the end, the landlord is the one that has to come up, pay all the fees, pay everything to get the property back in place so that you can rent it out while your homeowner next to you is not really doing anything about their own property. And I just think that the focus is being placed at the wrong angle. We should really be looking at how many violations do we already have? Who have we visited? Why are we not visiting those folks? So that's my take for today. I hope that you guys consider everyone and myself that has come up in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? I have this gentleman first.
Did they say our
Hello, Mr. Mayor, city leaders. I don't want to repeat my statements of last night's meeting. I would like to expound on a few points. As a small business investment property landlord, one point I would like to make is that I own a couple, two-bedroom apartment buildings in the Cathedral area. One on Marble Street, one on Robb Street. What's unique about this area, and very nice about this area, is that it is nestled in between homeowners on either side of my buildings. And my buildings, they pass inspection with flying colors, because I make sure of that. And I am also always in communication with the homeowners on either side, that we have no issues. So, as our business goes, my father's and I, we go beyond the call of duty. I even contract with my local realtor in regards to helping me rent my properties. They're helping me with the background checks, the criminal check, credit scores, and there's slim pickings out there in regards to what you would call a quality tenant. And you never really know. Some pass with flying colors, and then at the same time, you'll still can get fooled with this. But the thing about it is that we go beyond that, and I have to pay a contract fee for that, usually the first month's rent. So that on top of all these other things that are proposed now is also another burden. One thing I'd like to add is that I was born and raised right here in the city of Joliet. My father, Isaiah Williams Sr., is a homeowner, and his home on Richard Street is registered as a local landmark. He is 92 years old and still an active landlord through me. Right? But we are not absentee landlords. And as well, as the vast number of landlords that I know and network with. We take pride in our properties and the quality of life for our tenants. Mr. Rudiger has the right idea as far as the realtors go. And I would just like to end with, please vote no on ordinance 409-20, single-family dwelling inspections. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I am reading on behalf of two individuals. Georgine Williams, who lives in the Cunningham area, is one of the individuals. I have been involved with the neighborhood group since 1999, when I started a group in my home. Through all the years, you have attended our meetings. Thank you for that. During many meetings, the problems with single-family rentals have been brought up. Your comments have been, we have the same problems in many areas. We get many calls on this. I have a problem property next to me. Last spring, the foundation of the north side of the house collapsed. The year before that, 1/3 of the foundation of the south side collapsed into my yard. The renter complained, and that was fixed. Now the remaining 2/3 of the foundation on the south side fell down in addition to the half of the front of the house. The company that fixed the foundation told the owners that until they fix the gutters, the side will collapse as well. The gutters are leaking through the seams and water flows down the house into the foundation. Should I wait until the house falls down into my property before anything is done? I called neighborhood services and was told that the rental company has numerous violations and complaints against them. What would you do, or what do you think about this? Apparently, there are no penalties for unsafe structures. What is done with this list of violations and complaints is a major question. Is there any accountability? Can someone please help me understand? Last summer was extremely hard on our neighborhood. We had numerous shots fired and drug deals done on rentals. It wasn't until a homicide occurred and another incident of a fight occurred that the police got involved. At that time, they found guns. We understand it takes time to evict these people, but would you like them living next to you? We need something in place to promote better neighborhoods. Thank you to the police department for all that they do for us. You spend many hours and days on these problem homes. Mayor and council, the people that voted for you expect for you to vote on principles and morals. They depend on you for safety and well-being. The second one is from John Sheridan, Cunningham neighborhood. Back in February, Cunningham Neighborhood Council conducted their annual survey to the neighbors. One question was to rank 7 issues in our neighborhood by the importance of the members. The number 1 issue was gang shootings and shots fired. The second highest complaint was rental properties in the Cunningham area. We had 59 people take part of that survey back in February. While many are asking for a specific solution to assist with those landlords who are not being proper and right, who is the landlord or the owners that will be held accountable? Who will rent and be accountable for maintaining and making a greater rental community and not just an investment? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Sir?
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. My name is DeAndre Smith. I own Brickhouse Investments on 1620 Richmond. That's where our office is located at. Hearing most of the comments today about the rental program, I oppose the measure. One of the biggest issues that I see is that the vast majority of my clientele from tenants that's coming in now, most of them are from Chicago. So we migrating a lot of different tenants in. So we're dealing with different dynamics. 5, 10 years ago, there's a lot of Joliet residents. Now the dynamic is changing. It isn't more or less the property itself that's being hindered. It's the tenants and getting control of the tenants. So to say that the landlord is the one that's, you know, the bad apple and grouping us all in one, that isn't the case. One of the biggest issues is it causes us more financial burden from a small business to do all this operational needs and paperwork and employ staff members to come in to do all the extra legwork throughout all these inspections. I remember at one time, Housing Authority had a program where they had their own properties down on the south end and everything else, and they stopped that program and started putting all the properties on property owners so they could relinquish having to do all the inspections of them anymore. So they gave all the burden to us. Now they just check our properties and do the inspections of that. We get a biannual inspection. It was a yearly inspection, now it's a biannual inspection because the yearly inspection was way too much. So to get that inspection and then to have to get another city inspection, it becomes a burden, staff-wise and paper-wise. 95% of my clientele is DCFS clients, women against violence, and insurance claims. Most cash tenants can't afford rent nowadays, and with these measures, it's gonna make it impossible for them to afford rent. It's hard for them to qualify without 2 incomes. You can only get a government assistant tenant in your property to get a qualified rent to pay the new increase in taxes that we just got. Accordingly, with the new increase in taxes that we just got, most landlords here don't even get the government homestead exemption that's due to landlords for owning property. We all as landlords get a homestead right, you know, for owning property. I'm a licensed managing broker for the state of Illinois. I work as a real estate agent for Caldwell Banker. I've been in real estate for a lot of years. I hold one of the highest licenses. So if we come over here to Jim Paczewski down here and tell him, hey, we all want our homestead exemption for being landlords and having tenants and our property as homestead, that's $500 per unit. I have a lot of units. So there's a lot of some of these big property owners. That's a big hit to the budget for the city of Joliet. And then employing all these other people on top of that, it just doesn't make sense to me. Thank you, that's my time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Good evening. My name is John Schultes, and I'm the Government Affairs Director with the Three Rivers Association of Realtors. There are several realtors and landlords here regarding the agenda item of adding single-family rental homes to the rental inspection program. As I mentioned yesterday, the city currently has a procedure in place to add single-family rental units to the rental unit inspection program. There are currently 500 in the program, with 80 single-family rentals added in the last calendar year. Last night, I pointed out the problems we perceived with passing this ordinance, that it would be harmful to the city, taxpayers, property investors, and tenants. No profession wants to be defined by their bad actors. To pass this ordinance would paint the landlords of Joliet that take care of their properties and tenants with diligence with the same brush as those that let their properties fall into disrepair and leave their tenants to fend for themselves. This is a sweeping piece of legislation to be paid for with money the city doesn't have. No one could possibly have considered the full implications of what passing this will do between now and last Thursday. Rather than pass this, if you feel concerned about this issue, I urge you to table this and gather more community input. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Mayor and council members. I'm Judy Pinozzo, and I'm a local realtor with the Three Rivers Association of Realtors. As I understand it, council members bring ideas to their committees, and if they want to pursue them, they charge the staff with doing their due diligence. The staff finds out what the need is, what the costs are, the logistics. They bring that information back to that committee, and then the committee decides whether or not to take it to the full council. The committee had the staff do the due diligence for adding all the single-family rental properties to the rental inspection program. After doing that due diligence, staff has stated repeatedly over the years that the properties are a problem are actually owner-occupied properties, not the rental properties. Just yesterday, Mr. Jackson stated that the single-family rental properties are in better shape as those landlords take better care of them. The single-family rentals that are considered problem properties by the staff, these properties are already enrolled in the rental inspection program. There's already a program in place, it's being used, and it's working. The cost to add all the single-family rental properties is $500,000 annually, another $500,000 in the first year just to pay for the equipment, cards, office furniture, office space, money that's not currently in the budget. The staff stated that this is not a feasible solution, nor is it even necessary with the single-family rental properties. Yet, here we are again. The city lost millions in the last 3 months from sales tax, gas tax, whatever, due to COVID. There's no money now for this, nor is there going to be money in next year's budget either, because it seems like you're scrambling to pay for things last night, asking for extra cash. Mr. Jackson mentioned that the only way to pay for this program would be to raise fees. That's goodbye to that $100 a year, hello, higher rents. Councilwoman Quillman said that she hears from her constituents about problem properties and that some residents don't have access to the app or the internet, nor are they comfortable calling in for fear of retaliation. From that, I gathered that the problem isn't the actual properties, the problem is with the reporting mechanism. There is a little simpler solution. It's a good old-fashioned suggestion box, comment box, or just use the current bill payment drop-off box. Start a postcard program. Insert a postcard into everybody's water bill with the return post is paid. The residents can mail them in or drop them off at City Hall. The city only has to pay for those that are mailed back. The residents can pick up more cards at City Hall where other informational brochures are. It's cheaper, it's simpler, and the actual problem is solved: how to report without retaliation. The problem is not all the properties, the problem is how to report the few. The facts have not changed over the years. There's still no good reason to expand the program. However, there are several good reasons not to. Listen to their staff. And lastly, Councilwoman Quinlan was quoted in the paper as a lot of our neighborhoods have a lot of older folks who are scared to death to go out of their homes. This has nothing to do with the quality of a property or the upkeep of a property. That is, like others have spoken to tonight, it's more of a policing problem, not a resident or landlord problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item?
Evening, Mayor. Evening, council people. How you doing? This is a heated argument, isn't it? Wow, I missed last night's meeting. First off, staff told you $500,000, that's bullshit. And I know that. Look at the contracts. Top pay, if you take the 20-year guy, and they took 20-year average on everything, it'll cost you about $300,000. Pay of a topped-out pay, and to get this job, now you have to have a certificate to get it. There's a lot of our members do not have that. I wish they did, but that was part of the agreement. So you may be hiring somebody right off the street, which is around $45,000. But it takes 20 years to get to that topped-out pay, close to just under $100,000. Put 50% on that for your benefits if you want to go that high, which I doubt that. That's $150,000. 2 people, you need to hire 2 people. You're going to have to hire 2 people. You're going to have to waive the restrictions and hire 2 people. This is business, Pat. This is real simple business. I know you understand business. Mike, you should understand accounting. Is this affordable? Yeah, it's affordable. You guys can do it. By the way, I am a landlord. I have inspections done to me. Is it a pain in the butt? Yes, it's a pain in the butt. Is there bad tenants? Yes, there's bad tenants. You know what you do? You have to sit down with a lot of them and baby them. Sometimes they don't have the money, and you have to baby them. There's a lot of guys that do this. I do agree with one gentleman when he said, do I resent you coming in and inspect? I do. I always did. Because I put every unit like I like to live in it. And my tenants know that. And some of the landlords know this too. You make it good for them, they're going to stay. Who doesn't want it? Somebody who doesn't check their own property, sure. Real estate people, I don't know why they don't want it. Maybe they got too many of their own properties involved in it. Is it going to hurt you? No. Is there a lot of crummy buildings? Yeah, there is. A lot of single homes that nobody's reporting on, and somebody should check. If just for the fire extinguisher alone and that kind of, it's simple stuff. Larry, it is feasible. I think you guys would actually make $200,000, not that anybody wants to admit that, I guess everything is worried about the virus today. You would actually make money, I've always said this, we'd actually make more money than would be, cost us to do this program. Look at the numbers, pull the contracts up, the pay, and you take the 20 year, and I took, listen, deduct all the 5 weeks of vacation, I've got 20 years on, I just got the job, 5 weeks of vacation, deduct all my holiday pay, I'm looking at 1,700 hours, for God's sake. And that's if it took me an hour to inspect a house of 300 to 900 square feet. Now, there is a bunch of houses, I know some people think it's the east side thing, go far west. There's places out there that people are renting and nobody knows about. And are they taking care of them? I hope so. Are people gonna put holes in the wall? Cry, that's a business. You know what? Get out of business if you can't hack it. They do that. I've seen that. Kids, you have kids put toys down the toilet. Guess what you have to do? You have to pull the toilet up and put a new one in. It's all writable. When I do my taxes at the end of the year, I write it all off. Do I want to have to do all that? No, I'd like to keep all that and put it in my pocket too. But am I losing money? You lose some, but I'm not losing, otherwise I'd get out of the business. Anybody who's doing this, anybody who has 2 or 3 houses is making money. I don't know what you want to cry about. If you make money, you got to pay taxes. That's the cost of making money. If you don't want to make money, work for somebody else and don't do nothing and just be there. Is this doable for you guys? Yes. Is it going to hurt you guys? I don't think so. I could name houses and streets on the west side that people, geez, if we were around there more inspecting and making sure, it's just not the grass. What's going on really? Do I think you should inspect every single person, individual houses? Absolutely not. You don't inspect the person who owns a multi-unit that lives in one of those units. Do I think it should be every 6 months? No, I think it's like the program we had a 2 to 4 year, now it's gonna go up to 6 year. You can inspect it one time, it's $100.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Quinn Mousy resident. So yeah, there's a lot here tonight. Not really sure where to start, so I'll just get at it. There have been some people here tonight that are realtors and or landlords who have spoken in favor of this. There are also many realtors and or landlords who have spoken in opposition to it. One thing you'll notice is there's not, and perhaps I missed, there's not one non-realtor or non-landlord who spoke in opposition to it. Why is that? Our neighborhood organizations, you would have received this letter today, are all in favor of this. Each of you attends neighborhood meetings. You hear what the residents have to say. You're in those rooms. You're listening. The issues that people are discussing in those meetings are impactful on them and their families. And this is one of those issues that whether it's Forest Park, Kappa, Reedwood, St. Pat, St. John's, Bicentennial Bluffs, Collins Street, it doesn't matter which neighborhood organization it is, it's an issue that always comes up. And no, this is not just a West Side concern. I'll say it again. All of the neighborhood organizations in Joliet, on the east side and the near west side, now I'm not talking about Joliet Township, all of them are in favor of this policy. There has to be a reason why. There has to be a reason why they're in favor of it. And I think that those reasons are pretty axiomatic. If there is anybody who's not a landlord or a realtor who would like to come up and explain why this is a bad idea, I think that they should. We heard a lot of complaints about cost and this pending doom and, oh my God, the sky is gonna fall. It's all noise. Look at what's actually in front of you. It's changing a few words in a current ordinance that this council passed last May. The current ordinance was passed last May by this council. All the All that's being proposed is changing a few words to actually equalize the current ordinance, which exempts single-family properties. Every other rental property is subject to that ordinance. How is that fair? How is that consistent? Equalize the playing field by passing this ordinance. As the gentleman spoke earlier, that maybe this has something to do with the quality of tenants. Those words have never exited my mouth, but I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and be called a de facto racist. That's just not going to play. So people who are for this policy are not racists. We're not anti-gay. We are pro-neighborhood, pro-quality of life, pro-Joliet. I don't know how else to explain that to anybody. This is not a Quinn Adamowski issue. This is not a CAPTA issue. This is a citywide issue. People are begging for your help, and they have been for years. Again, this has been talked about for 20 years. And yeah, there's people in here who have not been part of these conversations, and that's fine. But over and over and over again, we're told, well, we'll work something out. We'll work something out. No, how about you just change a couple words and make it whole? That would resolve a whole lot of issues from my perspective. I would ask again that any of these specifics that are largest concern be expounded in this forum. The only thing I can gather, again, is this $100 fee and maybe a couple random things that don't make a whole lot of sense. I would urge you, on behalf of neighborhood organizations on the near west side and the east side of Joliet, to pass this, codify this, and let the city staff get to work in ensuring appropriate neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item? Moving on to council committee reports. First is this CTAS committee report.
The CTIS committee, which is the Communication Technology Information System, met at 5 p.m. today at the Police Department Community Room. In attendance besides myself were Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Kirk, CIO David Brainer, and Chris Skirtle. We spoke about, we did an overview of how the Axon Fleet 2 system will operate, which is our audio and video cameras being installed in all the squad cars. Currently, all the fire equipment is equipped with this technology. We have 150 police cars. 61 have been completed, and we expect the rest of them to be completed by October. It's a pretty tedious process. Each vehicle takes between 4 or 5 hours to equip, but they're getting done. They were thinking they wouldn't be done until Thanksgiving. They're going to be done what they think by the end of October, which is good. We spoke about the renewal of Microsoft licensing, which is approximately 1,000 licenses for all of our different routers and all electronic equipment. It's going to be a little tweaked, or it's going to be tweaked this time so that they have the ability to suspend some of the licenses if we're not using them due to circumstances such as layoffs or retirement or other vacancies in the city. And then turn them back on when necessary, which should result in lower costs. Another subject was renewal of a contract for our print RFP. We had a 5-year contract for the printers, and the printing supplies that go with it. They're currently going out for bids to look at who will be our next company to take care of that for us. We spoke about ViewWorks asset management project, which started with public utilities to manage all of our underground pipes, knowing where they all are and being able to track that. Now we're expanding it to the emergency services fleet. It's going to keep real-time inventories of the vehicles, their technology, and the assets that we have within these vehicles. Best part of it is we already own that software, so it will be at no cost to the city. We're just utilizing it to its capacity. Is Chris still here? Or do you want to do the Comcast? Yeah. Okay. And the last thing we spoke about was Comcast bringing fiber into the west side police station, and David Brainer will speak.
Good evening, Council Mayor. Just really quick, when we rolled out the Axon Fleet project, we have a lot more video that's spinning through. And on the West PD, when we started doing those uploads, we noticed an increase in bandwidth needed. So a long time ago, we backed off a lot of the fiber, but in the West PD, we're going to need to put fiber in there so that we can support the large videos. So we have two carriers for internet. We have AT&T, we have Comcast, and so that gives us the carrier diversity, and we have the geographic diversity because we have a base here where we get our internet. We also have a base out west at Fire Station 10. So with that in mind, we only had two carriers to choose from. We went and got bids for both of them. Comcast came in cheaper, and in addition to that, they were the incumbent there, so they let us back out of that contract, and we're going to be going forward. So we're going to be basically going forward with a 3-year commitment for them out of the West PD, so we could support that environment. Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, guys.
So we'll be bringing this to the August 18th council meeting, and we recommended, our committee recommended it for approval to the full council. And if anybody, anything?
You did a great job.
And that's it, thank you.
Economic Development Committee report.
The Economic Development Committee met on July 29th here in the council chambers due to the COVID. On the committee and in attendance were myself, Councilman Morris, and Councilman Dickinson. Also in attendance was Derek Conley, our development specialist. We had 3 items. First item was entitled Discussion Future Southside Industrial Development. Little vague, little misleading. There wasn't any discussion about developing the land. It was more of an inventory presented to us by Derek Connolly, identifying exactly what is currently zoned industrial in that corridor, what is still zoned agricultural, where that exists, or even residential in some of the areas. There was no discussion. It was, like I say, more informative. There was no discussion about what we should or shouldn't do moving forward. That's basically what was discussed. It was an inventory. I do believe in the course of making that presentation, Derek did say there's only one building left within Joliet's jurisdiction, one warehouse logistics building left with partial vacancy. Then we went on and discussed an ordinance establishing a pay in lieu of taxes program for truck parking and truck terminals. There was basically 3 considerations in this discussion. Generally, it's referring to the fact that anything that's a parking lot doesn't collect the same taxes as a fully finished logistics building or office building or headquarters. And the hybrid there was the truck terminals, which, while not massive developments and bringing a lot of taxes in, they are necessary. These are basically long, thin buildings where a truck comes in one side and unloads, and the truck on the other side takes that load and is going to a different spot. That's what a truck terminal essentially amounts to. We did decide as a committee to recommend to go ahead with increased fees. It says in lieu of taxes because we're not collecting the taxes we would if we built something else on a parking lot. So we would charge an additional fee for the special use. And we did decide that we didn't want to move forward on a pilot program to do that with parking lots that weren't attached to an existing company out there or weren't terminals, because we may not want to become the parking lot of the Midwest for anybody who may have a truck that they own or that they use from an employer, may live in a community around Joliet that doesn't allow the parking, so they're going to come park in Joliet. So we're going to get more data. So that brought it down to 2 items that we discussed, which was the truck terminals. And I believe, and I'm sure my 2 colleagues will correct me if my recollection is wrong, we said to go ahead with the truck terminals with the pilot program on the additional fees to make up for lost taxes. And we did discuss that it wasn't necessary to increase fees to an existing business out there that is actually addressing its own problem of more trucks than its current parking can handle by investing in their own property right there to house their own trucks. So I believe we did direct them not to pursue additional taxes for those projects that would be done by an existing business for their trucks only. The final item that we discussed was amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances to include business licensing for warehouses. Long and the short is going to range between 500 and 1,500. It's a way for us to keep track of the inventory of who's actually in the warehouses, what the tenants are, and defray the cost of such oversight. And I believe that, again, it was unanimously approved for recommendation to the full council at some point. I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, that we go ahead with the program. It was kind of a no-brainer. Those are the three items. Terry, Don, did I forget anything?
No, you got everything.
Okay. Mayor, that's our report.
Thank you.
Land Use and Legislative Committee report.
Yes, Mayor, the Land Use Legislative Committee met last Thursday, July 23rd here in the council chamber. The committee members, myself, along with Councilwoman Quillman and Councilman Dickerson are the committee members. Long meeting, but it was a good meeting. We started out with the CDBG public hearing. Had some people come in and speak on behalf of their organizations. It was approved by the committee, the substantial amendment approval, which is on the agenda this evening for consideration from the council. We had a couple items tabled, the revision to the responsible bidder ordinance, along with the amendment to the ethics ordinance was tabled. City attorneys will be getting back with us at a future meeting. The meeting, started, Jan, like 4:30?
We went 3 hours.
Yeah, we was done about 4:10 with that, and then we went into the single-family home rental inspection, so you all got a taste of that the last 2 nights. I don't think I need to go in that. It was a lot of discussion, good discussion concerning the rental inspection as it was these last 2 evenings. And it was sent to the council with approval of, with consideration of looking into some tweaking in the future if need be by the committees that evening. Did I miss anything, Jan?
No, you said it all, pretty much.
That was the short of it, man.
Thank you.
The single family thing. Yeah, that's it.
Public Service Committee report.
Public Service met on August 3rd at 4:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. And on the committee is myself, Councilwoman Gavin, and Councilman Morris. In attendance, in addition to the committee, was Director of Public Works Jim Trisna, Director of Public Utilities Allison Swisher, and several other members of their staff. It was a short agenda. There were 4 contracts we looked at. 2 of them were repairs. One of a pump motor, another one of a blower motor, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So, pretty routine. We did award a $150,000 maximum electrical maintenance assistance contract to Van Mack Electric, who, based on time and material, came in with the lowest price of those companies that wanted to do it. All they're going to do, up to $150,000 without further council approval, would be to do things that our electricians need them to come and assist with, things that our electricians can't do or can't get to. Then we also did look at the award of contract for the 2020 roadway resurfacing contract B, second phase. And we didn't have a list of roads. That will come later, right, Jim? Oh, well, we had that a while back. We just approved it, right. Thank you, Jim, Your Honor. Change orders, pay estimates, and final payments. There was one item. It was Betty news because it was a net deduction, and Betty loves that. Right, Betty?
I love the net.
It was a net deduction on this particular contract of a little over $31,000. Then on the ordinance and resolutions, other than housekeeping to release or appropriate the motor fuel tax funds to pay for the second phase of resurfacing this year, we also did look at and unanimously agreed that the application for a drive-through permit for a Dunkin' restaurant at 5951 Theodore Street at the corner of Theodore and Droughton, it will be a Dunkin' restaurant. I almost said donuts. I don't want to ruin their brand. And there will also be a gas station, which is sorely needed in that area out there. That's good news. I'm sure you're aware of it too. That's good news to you, Councilwoman Reardon. It's right there on our border. So they'll have a place to get donuts and whatever else they serve there, as well as a place to get gas. And the final note was, I had a chuckle yesterday when our interim city manager referred to it as a fill-in station. I haven't heard that term since I watched the Andy Griffith Show. It is a gas station. That is our, did I forget anything, folks?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes.
Larry, did your committee ask them why all these Dunkin' Donuts are closing up nationwide, especially with the ones with gas stations?
No.
It was
no.
like, there's 800 that they're closing. I was wondering how that affects those folks. I don't know if they're in our area or it's nationwide, and I was just curious.
Yeah, no, that wasn't brought up. We weren't aware of. I don't know if that's corporate stores or if it's franchisee stores.
I just wondered if it came up in the
Yeah,
conversation.
no, that wasn't brought up at all.
Okay, apparently it's not hurting them, so.
No, apparently not. You know, I'm not sure what
Gotcha.
section of the United States it's in, you know. Each area might be a little bit different, but no, that wasn't looked at.
Good, thank you.
Sure. Councilman, Councilwoman, did I miss anything?
No, sir, I think you covered it all.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mayor. That will be our report.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, it's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on July 20th, 2020, and the minutes of the council meeting held on July 21st, 2020 stand approved as recorded. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items? So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye?
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under licenses and permit applications, Council Memo 405-20, an application for a drive-through permit for a Dunkin' restaurant at 5951 Theodore Street. It's recommended the drive-through permit be approved for a Dunkin' restaurant at 5951 Theodore Street, subject to approval of final engineering plans.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve.
And Mayor?
Yes.
Real quick, sorry, Krista. I think I may have failed to make my final statement. Not only this application for the drive-through, but as well as the other items on the short agenda were all unanimously approved for recommendation to the rest of our council here to approve.
Okay.
There's motion and seconded to approve Council Memo 405-20. Councilman Hug.
Aye?
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under ordinances, Council Memo 407-20, an ordinance amending Chapter 28, Article 14, Real Estate Transfer Tax, Sections 28-251 and 28-258, ordinances of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye?
Motion carried. Council Memo 408-20, an ordinance designating 9 West Cass Street as a local historic landmark. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Move to approve.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye?
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Council Memo 409-20, an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Division 15, Rental Dwelling Registration Certificate and Systematic Inspection of Rental Housing, Sections 8-152 and 8-153.7.1 of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances.
Mayor,
Yes.
I think Kendall Jackson has some new information to add to this.
Excuse me, Mayor and members of the council, I just wanted to state that the staff is not opposed to a comprehensive program that would include all rentals. However, again, as I stated last night, our concern is with the logistics of a program like that. As the ordinance is stated tonight before you, we would not be opposed to that. However, we would want to spend a little bit more time looking at what other communities have done. We understand that there have been some successes. We'd like to see what their program designs are like, and we would also like to see what their fee structures are like. A program like this does not come without cost, and that is the staff's caution with this proposal.
Are you saying you want to table this, or do you want to move forward tonight?
That's up to the council.
I have a couple questions. I'll address them to you.
Yeah.
First of all, there were great comments on both sides of the issue, so I won't reiterate, but there is concern on my end that good landlords are being roped in with bad landlords. I know this could be tweaked moving forward, and it probably will be. What would you suggest to do to separate, because people are right, some of the houses they mentioned are the streets I'm aware of too. We know where some of the problem properties are. What can we do not to penalize the good, diligent landlords and lump them in with people, some of the horror stories we've heard the last couple of days?
Yeah, well, we do, our current ordinance does allow for the enrollment of the bad landlords or problem properties. So I think at that level, we are separating the good from the bad. If we were to go to a more comprehensive program that enrolled all landlords or all rental properties, we could look at a structure where we're not penalizing the good landlords. But I just want to caution that if it's tied to a graduated fee structure, as was mentioned tonight, if you're a good landlord, then maybe you get a reduced fee. We've got to take a serious look at how that would affect an overall program from a funding standpoint. It's very difficult for me to sit here before you tonight and give you specifics about how things are going to work without looking at other communities to see how they are working. I'm sure that we can find examples that are out there where they've addressed that issue, and we'd like to take the time to look at that.
Okay, and one other issue I want to bring up. One of the comments tonight, which I think is really accurate, it's not fair to a landlord if they have a unit that's empty and they're trying to rent it and they have to wait 2, 3, 4 months for the city to get out there. That's a legitimate concern. It's not fair to them because we don't have the staff. As we vote on this tonight, we don't have the staff to do these inspections. Would you consider, or staff consider, I don't want to hold up the vote, but tweaking this, that the city has a deadline to conduct the inspection? If not, then the city waives the inspection. Because it wouldn't be fair to hold someone up because we don't have the proper personnel here.
We could take a look at that, but again, that was another concern of staff's, that we would be holding people up because of the scheduling. Again, I'd like to mention we are already looking at 10,000 units that we're inspecting. So from a scheduling perspective, I think it would be difficult, without some additional resources to promise, as I sit here tonight, a specific schedule that we would get out on a timely basis. We would have to take a look at that, Mayor.
Okay. Mayor?
Yes.
Kendall, to be clear, last night, the numbers based on an estimate, and it wasn't just a guess, there was some limited research done with tax bills and,
Yes.
about 5,100 rental units that
Yes.
are owned, but rented out is single family. And apparently our current ordinance, which does address the broad scheme of problems, from problem tenants that won't be caught during an inspection to life safety issues, we have 500, or 10% of that is already on the inspection list.
Correct.
So we have some great deal of success with the current ordinance, and maybe we need to push that harder.
Yes, we are having success with the way the current ordinance is set up. It is a problem-based inspection program, so we're not enrolling all of the properties in that program currently. So we're not looking at all of the single-family rentals. It's just the problem one. So from that perspective, I think, again, we would just have to be very cautious about looking at increasing the amount of inspections that are going to be placed on our staff.
And I wanted to clarify one other thing. From personal experience, from 2011, the first year I was elected to this council, to 2017, 6 years, right next door to me, I had a house. Unfortunately, it was divorced. The family broke up and they left. It was in foreclosure. Of course, it was inspected 0 times, nor would it be inspected because they're not trying to rent it. It's still owned either by a private individual or a bank, so that wouldn't be on there either, right, the foreclosures?
Correct.
So the problems that come from problem tenants, and I have to believe, and everybody keeps referring to, especially those in the realm or know of the landlords themselves, that they all know who the problem landlords are. I probably can think of 2, but maybe there's a few more than that. I don't think any landlord. One guy, a gentleman, did say it rather eloquently. We look, 2 people, in fact. We look to get people and keep them here forever. Turnover is a real pain. I don't think that most of the landlords are out there trying to bring in the problem tenants.
Could I interrupt, please? I must go. As a representative of Bishop Romeo Blanchett from Joliet, prayers are being wasted when prayers are not to God,
So, Kendall,
for gratefulness, and to Jesus
so
for guidance.
what we have here is
Goodbye.
what we have here
On purpose.
is, I don't believe that we have landlords that are looking to put bad tenants in, but, even with background checks and so forth, they're gonna get bad tenants. And that's not what this is designed to stop anyways. Our current ordinance is designed to address that.
Our current ordinance is addressed to assign problem properties and not necessarily problem tenants.
Well, it's based on, one of the criteria is 2 calls for service.
Complaint-based.
2 calls for service.
Right. Yes.
Right, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would address it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, here we are. Number 1, Terry and I were at the meeting, and we suggested to come to city council with the policy change, and it's a work in progress. Nothing is written in stone. And I talked to Kendall and to work on this, and if there were other factors involved, because I don't understand why the good actors want to tie our hands with the bad actors, because that's what's happening here. It's not fair. You're discriminating against landlords who own duplexes that have to have inspections, as opposed to landlords that own single families. Many of the landlords that were in the land use meeting last week do not live in Joliet. One lives in Bolingbrook, has many properties here in Joliet. And I asked, well, because Bolingbrook has an ordinance for single family. So the word is out there, come to Joliet to make your money and get these single-family homes so you can make some business. Aurora has it, and Naperville has it, just to name a couple surrounding communities that are comparable to us. Everybody received this letter today, so I just want to clarify something that was said earlier, that this is just a West Side Cathedral area problem. We all got a letter today from 9 different neighborhood organizations. St. Pat's Neighborhood Organization, Bicentennial Bluffs, Cathedral Area Preservation Association, the Parkside Neighborhood Council, the East Side Neighborhood Council, Forest Park Neighborhood Organization, the Cunningham Neighborhood Organization, the Reedwood Neighborhood Organization, and the South Side Neighborhood Organization. And I can read all the presidents' names if you so desire. Jay Ringo, Sarah Stovall, Andrew Chemers, Loymalis McCormick, Betsy Satcher, Garland Mays, Georgine Williams, Paul Schultz, and Gwen Ulmer. So this is not just a cathedral area problem, as I stated several times. This is a citywide problem. And I know there are problems on the far west side in the Gray Wall and Cumberland divisions as well. So these are our constituents, and this is who we have to speak to. We don't have to speak to landlords that don't live here and landlords that live in towns where you can't reach them to get a hold of them about these problem properties. Because the ones that basically don't live here, that are live in Europe or Hawaii, because we've had problems down the road, or people that buy these single-family homes so that they can put in their workers for the warehouses. We've had that problem. There were 12 people living in one single-family home. And it took a while to get that out of that single-family neighborhood. So if we're gonna save our neighborhood and our city, we have to start with this, and I don't know why people are so against it, because if you're so against it, then why are you a landlord if you think it's gonna cost you money? This is a quality of life issue for every person, all walks of life, all incomes. This is to protect the tenants that are renting these homes. And I don't believe you can discriminate against the good actors as opposed to the bad actors. It has to be put in place. But we passed this on to the city council to make the right decision to get this policy going. It's just a change and to tweak it as we go. And as was stated here tonight, it can be done. Staff is not against it, as was stated earlier. And I think that this council should vote for it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes.
Made a number of notes, and Jan, I understand everything you said. I understand all the neighborhood organizations, but I have a business problem. I know, Kendall, you had mentioned that your staff hasn't had the chance to study other towns that this is working in, or we think it's working in. But personally, I think before we put something out, I think I need to know that we have a better business plan, and that we have a budget for this. As the mayor mentioned, the delay, we had a few people who came today that said if they are out 2-3 months, that's a major cost to them. $100 doesn't seem to be that big of an issue. I understand we have the program with about 500 people in there, but 500 units. And I'm sure any of the landlords that came here today are the good landlords. I mean, we got it. But I think there's some issues that we have on, when would we get these people registered? Or what is our registration plan? What's our structure for our fees? How do we get you off of the list? And we talked about a 6-year waiver, or a 5-year, things of that nature. But other groups have talked here about setting some principles, rules that we can all work together and continue to work together to come out with something. I haven't been here that long. I've been told here this has been working on for 20 years. And obviously, we need some deadlines to get this done. And we have maybe tougher times than we've had in the last few years. But I know, Kendall, you've been here a long time. And 2008, you were here, I'm sure, and it was pretty tough times back then. So that's I thought I'd like to see a little more meat to this proposal.
Yes.
Yes, as I said here, and I've heard both sides, and it seems to me we have a great opportunity to do more collaboration and getting more education around this. Since there is an opportunity for single-family homes to be put in the inspection system, that is okay. I mean, we don't want to hurdle up all of the good landlords. But the more I listen, it sounds like more of a code enforcement issue as well. And so as we look to try and solve this problem, I think we got to add more attention around the code enforcement. We know who these bad actors are. So let's go after them. Let's put more responsibility and accountability on them. We weed them out, everybody else is good. We want affordable, quality housing for everybody, So I think that if we do anything, let's pick up the enforcement. Let's try some other tools in the toolbox. I know that I've heard of cases where people are not being accountable for their property. Put a lien on it. That way they can't do anything with it. So let's look at that a little bit more. I'd like to see more around this. I'd like to see more conversation between our landlords as well. because I know you guys can probably come up with a program. You know, if you collaborate and you talk together, you could come up with something that, you know, maybe in the next 30, 60 days, rather than the 20 years we've been looking at this, because we're looking at it with the same lens of 20 years ago. We can't do it anymore. Can't do it. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I moved a table for 90 days and bring it back after staff has a chance to look at it and cooperate with the realtors or landlords.
So 90 days, this is,
That should be enough time, huh, Kendall?
Yes, we'll be able to bring something back.
Okay, thank you.
so the first meeting in November?
Yes, 90 days.
First meeting in November is a combined meeting for Monday, November 2nd. Would that be appropriate?
Well, what's the meeting before that in October then? Or the middle, then you get into Thanksgiving and everything.
October 20th?
Do the 20th then.
Okay, so there's a motion to table Council Memo 409-20, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Division 15, Rental Dwelling Registration Certificate and Systematic Inspection of Rental Housing, Sections 8-152 and 8-153.7.1 of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances to the October 20th, 2020 council meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 409-20 to the October 20th council meeting. Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon. Aye. Councilman Turk.
You know, I think we've heard a lot of discussion on both sides, a lot of good discussion. But I think that this has been a long time coming. And I don't think there's anything wrong with voting on this ordinance and tweaking it at the same time. I think that the main thing we need to do is just say, are we going to do single-family rentals or not? And then tweak the ordinance. So I vote no.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin. Aye. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-1. Council Memo 409-20 was tabled to the October 20th council meeting. Under resolutions, Council Memo 411-20 is a resolution approving the CDBG fiscal year 2020 annual action plan and fiscal year 2020-24 5-year consolidated plan. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
Mayor?
Yes.
If I may. There is a revised memo on the dais. We were able to provide some flexibility with some of these line items. There was concern about the senior snow program last night. So we were able to move $23,000 in addition to the $30,000 into that line item. So the total will be $53,000 for the senior snow program. And we are decreasing the community facilities for Riverwalk by that same amount. So instead of $100,000, that will be $77,000.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Kendall, so was there any discussion with Riverwalk? Because I know they was at our land use and legislative.
Yes, I'm sorry, I failed to, I did have a call with Riverwalk earlier today, and they're able to adjust their program.
So they're able to basically, I know Ms. Holstein and the staff gave a very good, presentation on what they're doing with the food pantry, so they're gonna still be.
They can do some value
serve their
engineering,
community.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 411-20 with the changes that Kendall Jackson just mentioned?
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
And please thank the staff at Riverwalk for everything that you all do and your timely responses as well. Food pantry is amazing over there. Thank you so much for helping the community that way.
Councilman Hug,
Well, I completely support the infrastructure, which would include a couple of streets being repaired in certain neighborhoods, and fire truck, purchase of an additional fire unit. Certainly Spanish Community Center does great work. Senior Snow Program, I spoke up last night to try to get some more money from it, and even the Housing Rehab Safety Program. I think at $5 million or more, we got to stop pretending like the Evergreen Terrace purchase isn't taking money, continuing to take money and resources away. It's nearly $5 million, if not more, that we've spent since the purchase, including the original $4 million from CDBG that was used for the purchase. And I don't think we can find a half square mile section of the city that's gotten that much money in the last 3 or 4 years. And so when you keep putting money in Evergreen Terrace and pretending like it doesn't cost or doesn't hurt resources for the rest of the city, you're not telling the truth. So because of that, while I support everything else in it, I'm going to vote no.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-1. Council Memo 412-20 is a resolution authorizing a substantial amendment to the CDBG program year 2017 and 2018 annual action plan to the amended 2015-2019 consolidated plan. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Hug,
What I said a minute and a half ago, no.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon. Motion carried 7-1. Council Memo 413-20 is a resolution appropriating motor fuel tax funds for the 2020 MFT roadways resurfacing contract B. Recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 414-20 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a letter of intent between the City of Joliet and the Illinois Department of Transportation. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 415-20 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a memorandum of understanding with Cullinan Joliet LLC. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Krista, before you do, I do want to thank all the Cullinan people and staff. Not only they met with me and with our staff weekly, but they put on a presentation for the whole city council to see individually. So thank you for all the work that everyone's put into this.
Been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 415-20. Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is award of contracts. Council Memo 417-20, approve the replacement of the Well Rock 3 motor to Lane Christensen Company Incorporated in the amount of $140,946. Council Memo 418-20, approve the repairs to the number 2 blower at the West Side Wastewater Treatment Plant to J.R. Cross Company in the amount of $31,957. Council Memo 419-20, award the 2020 electrical maintenance assistance contract to Van Mack Electric not to exceed $150,000. And council memo for 20-20, award a contract for the 2020 roadway resurfacing contract B to PT Farrell Construction Company in the amount of $2,433,640.56. It's recommended council memos for 17-20 through for 20-20 be approved.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under amendments, change orders, and payments, Council Memo 422-20, request for authorization to approve change order number 2 for the Charity Avenue, Knoll Avenue, Retta Court roadway project to PT Farrell Construction Company in the amount of negative $31,536.64. It's recommended Council Memo 422-20 be approved.
So moved.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
You know, this is my favorite time when we get money back, so, aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on, under new business, not for final action or recommendation.
Nothing.
Larry?
No.
Sharon?
No.
Mike? Pat? Terry?
No, sir.
Sherry? Amy?
Next is public comments. First is Minerva Sneed.
My name is Minerva Sneed, a former resident of Joliet, Illinois. I reside in Columbus, Ohio now. Thank God that I left this city because it's just as messy as before I left. Mr. Mayor, the Lurie family is going to leave you alone. We will not come back to your house doing any protests. And I want to ask, and who are you? No, this gentleman here.
My name is Kendall Jackson. I'm the Community Development Director.
Oh, okay. Well, and Mr. Steve Jones, he's not here, but I'm gonna file a complaint on him with the American Bar Association for misconduct because he takes a sworn oath to do his job. He took ethics and professional responsibility in law school, and he follows neither one. And I will file a report on Mr. Steve Jones. He can quit all he wants, but he's not getting away. And I don't know who this Glasgow guy is, but I know this about that name. That name have been around since I can remember. I think before I was walking and talking. He's responsible as Will County State's attorney to do the right thing. He also takes a sworn oath to do the right thing. So his house, those are the protests. It's gonna be at his house because it's by time that he do the right thing. This man been this attorney general for what, 50 years? He should be retired now. Really, he should be retired. How old is he, 80? No, I'm really serious. It's time out as business as usual. And I want to touch on another thing, the police reform. We will not accept you talking to a bunch of ministers. That have been done since I was a little girl, The ministers, it's a community. This council is Joliet, Illinois leaders, not the group of black men. You're not gonna like you is every other race in this city. And we're sick and tired of you running to these ministers like they're the saviors, when it's been the same after the same after the same years and years and years. There's no longer business as usual. All of it has to change. And everyone that had something to do with my nephew murder, because he was murdered. Every police officer that watched, I don't care if they said anything, if that was our family and someone was murdered, all of us go down for murder. whether we committed it or not. The police department is not above the law. And right now, they feel they're above the law. I could do whatever. This gentleman, this police officer right here, I don't know how you were on the streets, but you are so courtesy in here to us, and I thank you for that. And maybe more should be like him. Because I would bet 95% of Joliet police officers is just gangbangers, the same as they arrest the gangbangers. That's who they are. That's exactly who they are. You are to serve and to protect, not run around acting like gang members.
Thank you.
Armella Frankowski. We'll move on to the next. Candace Quinterly.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thanks for making eye contact this time, Terry. Thank you. As you all are considering police reform proposals, I want to remind you all why we desperately need reform in this city. In the past decade, officers Terry Higgins and Sherry Blackburn were shielded by qualified immunity in 2019 for using a taser 4 times on Patrick Ryan Dockery. Officer Aaron Bandy fatally shot Bruce Carter in February 2019. That ended up being a justified shooting. Officer Bradley McEwen was with him at the time of the murder. Officer Dennis Carroll fatally shot Shaquille Barrow in 2015, another justified shooting. Officers Terrence Gruber and Thomas Conroy falsely arrested Elijah Manuel in 2011. That resulted in a $450,000 settlement that the taxpayers paid for. Officer Joseph Clement, buddy of the mayor, faced a 25-day suspension, I think earlier this year, stemming from the Fiesta in La Calle fiasco last year for violating department rules. And I do want to also note that in 1994, after just 1 year on the force, Clement struck and killed a 64-year-old woman while responding to a call. Officer William Otis had a federal lawsuit filed for contributing to the wrongful death of Chris Samasino in 2015 due to illegal and improper arrest. Officer Rachel Smithberg had a federal lawsuit against her in 2017 in which June Radich was unlawfully arrested and subsequently awarded $30,000. Officer Adam Stapleton tackled Kanika Morrow in 2019 as soon as he exited his vehicle. I know you all know this story. She required surgery. And the whistleblower, Sergeant Javier Seda, in that incident is quoted saying, "Get the baby an ambulance." In a baby voice, by the way. When you have officers like this on your force, it's a danger to your community. And it's apparently still a danger when they are no longer on the force, as evidenced by Mayor Odeker. He'd been named in a wrongful death lawsuit, suspended at least once, and God knows what else since your personnel files have disappeared. I want to make sure the people of Joliet are also aware that while the finger is being pointed at Steve Jones, the Police and Fire Commission can make appointments as well as disciplinary decisions, which can lead to termination. Bob Odenkirk appoints the people who sit on that Police and Fire Commission board. Pass these reforms and hold this mayor accountable.
Thank you.
Kia Watson.
Hello. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not really as eloquent and well-spoken as some of my peers. I'm not from Joliet. I moved here 3 years ago. But I do know a few things. When it comes to Joliet police, I do not feel protected. I do not feel served. Not even a little bit. I'm sure each and every one of you know what is wrong with the Joliet Police Department. You know. So like Candace said, pass the reform and hold everybody at fault accountable.
Thank you.
Isaiah Williams. Jerry Hervey.
How y'all doing, Council? Mayor? I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb and disagree with this young lady right here. The mayor does not control the police department. Where is the chief of police? Because I've been asking for him 2 times. Where is the chief of police? The chief of police controls the police department. Under his watch, y'all giving out money, but under his watch, they're constantly costing us money in lawsuits. Nobody has said defund the police department. We can use this money in this program for this house thing that y'all got going on. Defund them. Officer Doug May has had 17 complaints filed against him since 1999. One of them being for aggressive policing where he was written up by a sergeant. And then a whole decade later, he jumps right into the back of a squad car and slaps somebody and called him a bitch. Where was the deterrent? Lieutenant Jeremy Harrison, God forbid he would have ran into somebody that night he was drunk and killed somebody. Has he been held accountable? Get off the mayor, he is not the problem. The chief of police and the police are a problem. They cannot hold themselves accountable. I want to see this city council write a letter to the Department of Justice asking for a full investigation of the Joliet Police Department. Take out the part about Eric Lurie. Take out the part about the mayor. They got a laundry list of misconduct that's been stretching back for 10 years. Write them a letter saying, I want the Joliet Police Department investigated because we do not have the tools and resources to do so, and we believe they are involved in misconduct, racism, and a lot of sexual misconduct. Let's not forget about the DUIs and the constant drinking that we hear about. Get off of him and get on the problem. If you want to address the mayor, address it in the next election. But right now, you need to get rid of the police chief and the amount of money that they making. How is it possible that they making this amount of money and nobody says anything, but you constantly come up with these fake-ass bills? Okay, we want to charge the citizens this. We want to charge housing people this. We want to charge the landlords this, but you still have not come up with a solution to buy police cameras. How? Sherry, you ran for office, and as soon as you get into office, you come up with this plan to raise taxes on gas by 3 cents. But you still have not come up with a solution or a budget to get cameras, body cameras. What more reliable witness can you get than a camera? It'll streamline the whole judicial process. I guarantee the district attorney will be glad you got him. Come on, man, knock it off. And then, Betty Gavin, you sit up here and say, let's hold these bad people accountable. Let's hold the wrongdoers accountable, but you're not even willing to hold the police force accountable because you keep stonewalling the mayor and the city manager. Everybody want to harp on the mayor. We got 5 city council members that did not serve a letter into the investigation of Eric Lurie. Go to their house. Go to their house. Hold them accountable. And I'm almost wondering how many of y'all could survive a federal investigation into your phone. You'll be in federal prison. From donations, I know about donations. I know who's involved with who. I know who pays people's salary through donations. But yet and still you're involved in these decision making with these people who got a vested interest in your vote. Come on, man. Knock it off. I'm not finna keep coming in here dealing with y'all. Oh, we're working on reform. What reform have you worked on? What have you came up with? Betty, you said that, okay, I did my own investigation and I wanted to see what I could find out. What did you find out? Who did you talk to? And what was the context of the conversation? That's not, you can answer that. Like, come on, man, knock it off. Y'all acting like a bunch of high school kids. Well, I don't like this person, so I'm gonna side with this person. Well, I don't like this group, so I'm gonna side with this person. Like, come on, man. We got police officers making $150,000. A regular patrol officer who is on leave that has she even been served? The lady that's involved in this DUI crash. Has she even been served with a complaint from Internal Affairs? No. How is she sitting at home getting $3,500 every 2 weeks instead of burning her vacation time or whatever else she got? You need to defund the police department and make them get that money back in incentives and escalations. If you need to do an investigation, it needs to be done in 90 days. Knock it off, man.
Thank you.
DeAndre Smith. DeAndre Smith. Nikki Moore.
My name is Nikki Moore. I was born and raised in Joliet, Illinois. I recently left, so I live in Hurst, Texas. My cousin is Eric Lurie. So many things have been said about my cousin, but one thing that needs to be reminded is that he was a human being, which means that he had the right to be protected by the police instead of being killed by the police. You say that they don't have the Narcan, but you was in front of the police station. Do the police station not have Narcan? No. I saw somebody on the video bring out the defibrillator or whatever it is. Nobody could run in and get some Narcan to save my cousin? No, because nobody wanted to save him. You wanted to kill my cousin. Not you particularly, but you are held accountable because you are in charge of the police. You are in charge of the police. There's no way that I have to move my son to Texas to protect him from the Joliet police. I shouldn't have to leave a town that I was raised and born in, that my whole family live in, but to protect my son, I had to move to Texas because I'm scared that the Joliet police is going to probably kill him too. You all allowed people to kill my cousin. Every last person is accountable for his death. Not just the police, but the city council is too. Because you might have not been able to prevent it, but you sure can take action and you choose not to. So until you all take action, if I gotta work a second job to fly back and forth from Texas to Illinois, I will be here because you all will take action on the police department and get rid of not just Officer May, get rid of all of them. And then after you get rid of all of them, you get rid of yourself too because you all were not held accountable too. So you all need to get yourself together. And I mean everybody. And the sad part about it is I see 2 black faces on this council. If anything, you all should be fighting for my cousin. I don't care what they said he was. I don't care. He was a human being. Do you all understand that? That he was a human being. You say he was a drug dealer. So what? He still was a human being. That's right. He was a human being that you all failed to protect. You failed to protect my cousin. And somebody needs to be held accountable. So you all need to figure out who it is and get rid of them. So at least I'll be satisfied with that. But I'm not happy with a city that I was born and raised in. I am 43 years old. I lived here for 42 years. And this is what I get? Yep. I pay taxes here. Yep. This is what I get. Y'all worried about single family homes? Worry about my cousin. Yes. Worry about the other children that might die. Right. Worry about the people that have died and we don't know about. You all need to get it together. As a council, you all need to get it together and get it together now. Because my cousin meant something. Say my cousin name. Eric. Say my cousin name. Eric. No justice? No peace. No justice? No peace.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comments this evening?
I want to know if y'all got a solution to come up with body count in the budget, because you apparently can come up with a budget for everything else.
Hi, my name is Ariana Schuler. I'm born and raised in Joliet. I'm going to keep my comments short because I'm not good at public speaking. I agree with everything that's been said by all of my peers here. Mayor, just don't approve of the way you conduct yourself. On May 31st, you decided to put your hands on a citizen of Joliet, a protester, whatever you want to call it. You shouldn't have put your hands on a citizen. You shouldn't. My other thing is I'm here for Eric Lurie and his family.
That's right. Come on.
They are hurting.
That's right.
They are in pain.
That's right.
And nothing is being done.
That's right.
It's so upsetting, and you guys every week sit here and just do nothing for his family.
That's right.
It's not fair.
No, it's not.
We need real police reform now. Will County Progressives has put forth a list of proposals, so if you guys can just take it seriously, look it over. I mean, has it been 8 weeks? Okay, so it's been a long period of time. And just, I mean, nothing has been done, really. So we're a community. We need to work together. You guys need to hold the police officers accountable for what they did to Eric Lurie and any other person who has been treated unfairly, who has not been treated with dignity and respect. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect.
That's right.
Some people in this town are not. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ashana Mitchell, cousin to Eric Lurie. I want to say that listening to tonight's meeting, last night's pre-council meeting, really, we need accountability in Joliet. We need accountability to landlords. We need accountability to the police department, the Will County State's Attorney, the city council. We need accountability across the board. And I urge you guys to do that. We need to make sure not only are we holding the police department accountable, the city council accountable, the city manager, everybody needs to be held accountable. All of those officers, they all need to be held accountable. And I just want to say one thing not related to us, but that housing thing, it's not just a problem. I lived in Joliet until about 1.5 years ago, and I left Joliet because of a landlord that refused to fix a property that I lived in. That water leaked so bad we got sick. It is a problem. These bad actors, everybody know who they are. You call, the city don't do anything, or it takes so long, and then the landlord harass you and you gotta move, or you get fed up and you just move on your own. Either way. But we need accountability for everybody to ensure that the people, the citizens in Joliet that you guys represent, that they have an equal opportunity to live a decent life, to be protected and served in their community by the people who we put you guys in these places. The people put you here. So you guys have a duty to be accountable. So I urge you guys to do the right thing, not just when it benefits you, but at all times. And then I want to thank the council members who did take the time to write that letter, because last week I received a call from the Attorney General's office, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but things are underway and an investigation is taking place. So I thank you guys who had the courage to do that. And I also would like to encourage you to write another letter. Write a letter to the FBI. I've already sent mine. You guys send yours too. And you guys demand that they come in too and look at this department, because you know what? The FOIAs that I've been getting, it's a shame to see. And I'm just looking at the officers that were involved in my cousin's case. All of those officers have had complaints going back years. Various things, not just complaints about wrongdoing, that they misconduct. They had complaints about not following the rules of their job. They violating citizens that they supposed to protect and serve. You guys, I urge you guys to write a letter to the FBI and ask them for an investigation. Keep asking for an investigation, because that's what we're going to continue to do.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on our public comments?
and the City Council. My name is David Paul. I'm a lifelong resident of Joliet. You probably know some of the accomplishments of my family. Sam Paul was the circuit clerk, relative of mine. You drive over drawbridges every day to come down to the city. That the electrical was put in by my great-grandfather. And as many times as you've been to the Rialto Theater, you've probably seen his chandelier hanging there. He was an electrical engineer that came to Joliet, and that's why my family's here. So I have a deep-seated, deep-rooted stance in Joliet. I come here today with this mask on, and I look around the room, and I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago we see commercials, maybe news feeds from people in China. The United States is starting to look like communist socialist China because of this. Okay? There's been no proof that this is effective. Our governor, you know, the wonderful man that's took the toilets out of his mansion so he didn't pay $335,000 in taxes. Okay? He goes to Wisconsin every weekend without a mask on. His horse farm. Okay. I'm getting to a point here. The masks and this whole coronavirus thing, completely ridiculous. I think we can all see that it's pretty political in nature.
That's right.
And we, the people of the United States of America, in particular us in Joliet, we're not going to be turned into communists or socialists.
That's right. Come on.
So the end of this has got to come soon. As I see some elected officials here who haven't worn a mask this entire meeting, guys, I'm not wearing it anymore either. Okay? Getting to my point of that, a lot of other things are happening, right? Our children. What's happening to our children? You know, my life's pretty much set. I'm a small business owner. I've had my ups and downs. Had my butt kicked by the Joliet police, by the way. Permanent nerve and tendon damage in my wrist. Okay? That's inconsequential, really. I really could care less about it. What I am worried about is our children. We are setting an example for our children. My son is going to attend Joliet Catholic Academy this year because there's no way in hell I'm allowing him to attend these public schools. All right? And I'm going to pay $13,000 out of my pocket to send him there. In addition to that, I'm paying for some other public school kid to go to school by my taxes. Well, let's talk about that for a second. And I want to know what your plan is. So I'm going to ask you a question. Right? Since March, our school buildings have been closed, correct? Right? Okay. So custodians haven't been going there. Supplies, bathroom supplies, copying supplies, paper, all these things that we as taxpayers pay for, they haven't been used. They haven't been purchased. And now, through their brilliance in socially distancing, socially retarding our children, now they're going to do it again. District 86 is going to go full remote learning. You know what the taxpayers should be doing? They should be paying for the Wi-Fi service of the teachers at their houses, if they're going to do that. There should be some provision for that. But aside from that, the busing. There's no buses happening now, right? There's no bus drivers to pay, right? There's no books that have to be bought. Everything's done online now, right? Right? When do we, the taxpayers, get all that money back? When do we get the money that's not being spent on those school buildings and having our children there? When do we get that money back in our taxes?
Thank you.
Can anyone answer that?
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comments this evening?
Yeah, real quick, Jan, you're awesome. Just had to throw that out.
Seeing none, next is mayor and council comments.
Don? Nothing. Larry?
Nothing.
Jan?
Well, I will say this, the Public Safety and the Land Use Committee are meeting in a combined meeting on Thursday here in council chambers at, is it 5 o'clock, Krista, or 4:30? I can't, because we switched it around.
It's starting at 4 o'clock because.
5 o'clock.
I'm sorry,
Land use.
I'm sorry, so land use is at 5
Is at
o'clock.
5
The
o'clock,
special
so we-
meeting is at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
And we are going to address the letter of, that was sent by the progressives, the 13 issues that they want addressed. And we will have counsel here, legal counsel, because there are some things we can talk about and some things we can't because it is under legal investigation. But we're going to have a meeting. And it's going to be a respectful meeting. Everyone's going to be very respectful because you cannot come to conclusions by yelling and screaming at each other. And this will be announced at the beginning of the meeting. We're going to address every issue. We may not come to conclusions immediately, but we're going to talk about what can and cannot be done to get the conversation going. And people will be able to ask questions, but not yelling and screaming and chanting. We want this to be a very good dialogue together, so we can start working together. So the meeting's at 5 o'clock, and again, there'll be social distancing, and so there won't be so many people allowed into the room. But the other part of the issue is if someone does get out of hand and starts yelling and screaming, you will be asked to leave. And if you refuse to leave, then we're going to adjourn the meeting. Because again, nothing gets accomplished unless you can sit and talk to everybody. So that's our plan for Thursday. If you can make it, great. The meeting will be televised and recorded. So if you have any other questions, you can call me. My number's usually posted. It's not posted tonight. But it is 815-726-7071. It's on the city website. There it is. She just put it up there. And just so you know, there are certain things we can and cannot do, and that's what we're going to discuss on Thursday. It may not be everything you want to hear, but at least we are setting up the dialogue. And that's all I have to say, Mayor.
Mike?
Nothing.
Pat? Terry? Sherry? Betty? That's all I got. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Ma'am, I'll talk to you after the meeting, ma'am. I'll talk to you after the meeting, ma'am.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been motioned and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Can you get to bring the chief in, please? Hey, real quick. He's here.